Whew, okay. We are here. And 8 minutes ago, Splatoon of North America posts the custom Wellstring 5 will also be available. I feel like it might actually be possible that when Dude commented on the Splatoon North America announcements of the new kits, that they were like, oh crap, we forgot that one. Because this seems like a pretty random time for them to be posting that. Oh my god. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Glad I check 1 2'd. Check 1 2. There we go. And hello, chat. Hello, Lapis. Is that Lapis Association? I don't know. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Clover. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Lucalda? Luke Aldi. I don't know. But hello. Hello, little lad. Hi, Scroob. Hi, Splat Meme. Oh my god, hi. Hi, Scorebuns. What do you mean by Zeus? There's a thunderstorm, which is probably why my internet went out for the last hour and 15 minutes. Hi, Squid Fan. Hi, Ty Phoenix. Ty Phoenix, DM me on Discord, because I could not find you by trying to search there. I know you've got a VOD review scheduled, but I wasn't able to find the DM that it was in, and so I might not have the replay code. You might not have sent it anyway, I don't know. But make sure that that's there. There it is. Okay, thank you. And I think the code you sent was from the middle of April, which might be before the replay broke, so we did another one. Okay, good. So you've got another one. Awesome. Good, good, good. Hello, Gabe. Yeah, the new Rebrella is not looking too hot. Hi, Mason P13. Don't remember when Jem starts his streams. I just happened to join 30 seconds after. Normally, it's a lot earlier, but the thunderstorm had something to say about that. Hello, Rin. Toothpaste sword. Yeah, the swords... Splatana players are eating good. Imagine if we had a magical Phantomu laser beam instead of the Phantomu jump scare today. Please stop firing off the laser beams. They are damaging our internet infrastructure. Thank you. Hello, Shaluna. We're storming in Denver, too. Yeah, the middle of the country is just kind of getting swamped right now. Hi, Inez. Howdy, Kiki. I am hungry. I'm dad. I'm not actually a dad. But I can be a dad at heart. Hello, Jules. Hi, Alchemy. Greek mythology mention? Yes, there was one. That's okay, Jim. I love a Lapis Assassin. Oh. Okay. I feel like you need another A in there. But that makes sense. Okay. And I like Lua Calda. Lua Calda. Okay. Hello, Project Griff. Hi, Christorati Kid. Hi, Sunayama. Hi, Lotus Heart. A cat dad. This is true. Phantomu speaks truth. I do, in fact, have a cat. Hey, man. Greetings from Mexico. Hello, Humberto. Good to have you. Gem, I lost my watch streak because I had no connection in the middle of nowhere in Washington. That's okay, Keiko. I know you were here in spirit. In Washington, I miss Minnesota. Nah. I've never actually been to Washington. Well, no, that's not true. I was in Washington once for a work trip, but I never really got to go around or anything. I was inside the whole time. Told you about Escape from Tarkov with the pay-to-win stuff. Before that happened, my silly comp request was going to be related to it. I'm having second thoughts. Should I still go with the request? I think I should try making something different. Wouldn't be hard to change the idea. I don't know. I don't have any I don't have a stake in the game. If you want to go and do it, I probably won't even remember whatever. So, can you do a 360 on charger? All right, I got you. I got you. So, give me 1 second. I'm setting up for the sick 360 that you are about to see. Okay. All right, all right. Be prepared to be wowed. Oh man, here it comes. Here it comes. This is gonna be sick. How's that? Alrighty. So, as some of y'all know, this stream is starting like an hour late, and it's just because of technical difficulties. Force majeure, an act of God, specifically Zeus. So, I'm going to be jumping straight into the VOD reviews. Normally, there's a section here where we play Anarchy Open with the players. For the time being, I'm just going to jump into the VOD reviews, and then if we have a little bit of time afterward, maybe we play a little bit. Just want to keep it on schedule because I do have stuff. Speaking of stuff, I need to make sure to let someone know that I will be available after all. Okay.
All right.
Hello, and welcome up.
Hi. You hear me good?
Yep. I need actually say something really quick. I just need to check for volume.
Something really quick.
Okay, you are louder than me, so I'm gonna turn you down a little bit.
All right. As far as watching the actual VOD game reviewed, do you share that here, or should I watch that on stream?
I will share that here. It's not set up yet, but I will be doing that.
Okay.
Okay. That should be going up right about now. And now I'll finish getting the replay code in. Seeing that okay?
I don't see it, but that may be my not having used Discord for this before and not noticing it.
So, on my name, it should say live, and if you click on that, you'll get the option to watch stream.
Got it. 1 sec. Yep. Okay. There we go.
Awesome.
Just make that bigger. Two quick things just for context here. I'm in a call with two of the other players, and I have been trying to work on my awareness and force myself to check the map and stuff a lot.
Okay. So, do you want to bring the other players into the call here?
I had not thought about that. I'm not sure if Ouija and J-Funk are around or not. Because we're not like a proper team. This was just a pickup thing we did.
Okay.
I'd be fine with them coming in.
Yeah, like, if they want, they're welcome to. You can send them the invite to the server.
They're on the server. We arranged it in Squid School.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, if they want to hop in waiting room, then I'm happy to drag them up once I know they're there. Really quickly, I want chat to let me know, do you hear the air conditioning unit? I'm going to turn it on in 3, 2, 1. It is now going at full blast. Is that noise coming through onto the stream? Darn. I was hoping you wouldn't be able to hear it. Because I would like it, but we will suffer for the content. It'll be fine.
Oh, right.
It's pretty quiet,
when
not too loud. Eh.
Oh.
We'll suffer for the content. It'll be fine. Okay.
Just to be clear, when I said we were in a call, like, actual plays were getting called and stuff.
Okay. For the VOD review, because this determines what perspective I'm going to watch it from, do we want to be giving advice primarily to you, or do we want it to be more even between you and your
This is primarily for me.
Okay, so we'll keep it from your perspective then.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everyone's saying to keep the air conditioning on. Fine, we'll do that.
Oh yeah. Also, I'm still learning the map, so if you have any recommendations on bear positions, I would love those.
All right, so let's talk about a resource that Devi makes called the Backline Overhead Positioning Maps.
Indeed, I've seen it.
Those are where my recommendations would come from. So I'd literally just go into the... I'll put this into the chat as well, just in case anyone's not aware of them. That's probably what I would recommend following. Just figure out not just what the positions are, but why those positions are advantageous, and try to work from there. But we'll talk about it, you know, in the context of the game, obviously, as well.
Got it. I'm just gonna pull that up so I can reference it while we're doing this.
Sounds good. The one map that is not on right now is Marlin Airport. Debbie hasn't gotten around to that just yet.
Oh, I hate Marlin Airport backline positions.
And Debbie does too. So, the map full that like I'll let everyone know when that's been made, because I'm sure Debbie will let me know because she never forgets anything. And then we'll know that that's up to date. But for the time being, that one's not there. Could make these a command and actually finish the recent stuff. Yeah, Debbie says so do I. About hating the backline positions, presumably. So, alrighty. Looking at the comps in the match we're watching here. Obviously, you know, you're just pulling this together with a bunch of players that you found from the server, it sounds like. A little bit of a pickup. Yeah. Weapon comps are going to be, you know, kind of up in the air. It's not bad. I think the biggest thing about this comp is that there's not a lot of paint on it.
Yeah,
obviously,
I think after this game, we changed it around to get more paint.
Gotcha. Makes sense. The other thing which I would note, which, you know, you probably already know, is that we don't have a cooler on this comp. And you know, ideal coordinated setting, you basically always run a cooler, but they don't have a cooler either, so it ends up not mattering. But yeah, the challenge here is that I feel like Yo Mama on the roller over here is gonna struggle with finding places to shark people. Between the three of you, like, you've got a decent amount of paint, but the bow is, like, kind of mediocre at painting. The blaster is a blaster, and so it's not going to be great for painting, although it's, I think, better than, like, the short-range blasters are. But then the roller's not going to do that very well. So it's basically just Ouija who's going to be able to paint super well, and that's not really what they want to be doing that much. So it's a little bit challenging, and that's going to be one of the potential win conditions. They, meanwhile, have a Sploosh and a CDS, both of which are going to paint pretty well. Hydra, on paper, doesn't paint super well, but because of its positioning, can often paint a lot just because it doesn't have anything else to do with its charge in a lot of cases. So it's not going to be bad at that either. So if the map gets painted too much, then Roller can't really move around, and you're kind of down a player. So that's something to be careful about. But we've got Crab, we've got Inkjet, both very solid specials. This is not a bad map at all to have whales. So I like what you guys have picked generally. Like, you could definitely be doing a lot worse. So let's see what we got. So we roll out and we come up to here, which is a pretty standard position. You probably don't want your Rapid Blaster to be taking the same position as you, and I would say that this is one of those cases where you, as the more of an anchor backliner, you want to be the one who actually holds this position. You want J-Funk to drop and give you this space instead of the other way around, because you're going to be able to use it better. You have more range. They have other positions that they can capably use, whereas you are a lot more forced to stand in, like, this particular place, because there are only so many places on the map that are going to be safe and useful for you. So I'd rather have them below, and since you can call this out, this might be a situation where you guys want to coordinate, like, okay, we can't be standing on each other's toes here, and this is a position I'd really like. Can you move up? And that is what ends up happening, so that's good. They're starting to push in. You don't really have to worry about the hammer. If anything, I'd be, like, trying to take shots at it as it comes forward, unless it starts to throw the hammer.
Yeah, I've struggled a little with hammers to figure out what's actually effective at hitting them.
So there is a timing window where you can hit them in between hammer swings. That's one option. You can also just flank them, hit them in the side, hit them in the back. Or you can run away if they're coming after you. All those are good options, because this hammer is really not going to be successful. Like, they're just holding forward without any support from the rest of their team. Nobody else is pushing at the same time. They're going into enemy ink. It's really easy for, like, whoever they are chasing to just run, and everybody else on your team to just turn and splat the player, which is exactly what happens. So now that we've got a numbers advantage, we can kind of just push them. And you even recognize that this is an advantage state, and you drop down, and you're starting to collect clams and try to move up. So I think at this point, there's nothing you're going to get from being on the glass here anymore, because we just got 2 down. And so we're pushing the enemy team a lot further back. You want to start moving up to look for a position to control the enemy side instead of to control mid.
Yeah, I think this was a case of me taking a moment to realize we had 2 down.
So we've got an Inkjet going in. The Inkjet gets taken down right away, so that's unfortunate. And it does look like we're fighting the players who took it down, so that's good for the rest of us up there. I like that we're trying to keep the momentum going by using the special here. Where did Ouija go? Okay, Ouija backed up. So there might be a flank there that got called out or something like that. You've got to be really careful about letting the chumps just exist behind you here. You can fire a shot or two, but as soon as these things land, you want to be getting rid of them, and if not, then backing up. Because if these things are out while you're still trying to fight them and they rush at you, now you can't really leave because you're going to get hit by 2 of those chumps and go down.
Understood.
So we do
basically
get rid of...
make sure my back is clear.
Right. There's a really old mistake that people have been making forever with Tenta-missiles, where the missiles go off and they're targeting you, and you were in the process of trying to, like, push at an enemy player. And so what a lot of people will intuitively do is just keep pushing forward to go after this enemy player. They're like, I'm just going to be able to chase them, and then the missiles won't hit me. And then they run into that enemy player, exchange a few shots, realize, okay, you know what, I don't like the fight that I just ended up in. I need to back up. And they try to back up, and then realize, oh wait, those missiles just landed behind me and painted my way out. And now they're stuck, and now they're in trouble. It's the same kind of deal here, where you have a lot more time to respond, and so you can fire a couple shots before you have to worry about that. But you do need to make sure that they're not just, like, preventing you from moving backward. And it's good that you shot a couple of them when you did, because you don't want to be in the middle of this Booyah Bomb. Even then, I think you could have responded a little bit faster, so you didn't take damage from the one chump. You are still damaged right now, and you'd probably rather just not have taken that damage, just in case there's someone rushing in. If, for example, the Dapple Doolies were to Reef Slider at you right now, even an indirect hit would probably splat you.
Yeah, if I recall, either this game or the one that came after it, I got splatted at some point because I let chumps chip me, and then I'm not sure what finished me.
Yeah. One thing about moving forward here is that as a long-ranged weapon, especially as a long-ranged weapon that has frontliners in front of you, there aren't that many things that can threaten you. So you want to be looking for the very few places where something could threaten you from. And one of those places is the glass up top to the left. If I'm going to move forward here as a long-ranged weapon, I realize that as I'm moving forward, I'm already in range to hit that glass, and moving any further forward is just making it easier for someone to rush me down. So I'm going to check that glass when I get to max range of it to make sure that there's nothing there to shoot at before I move forward, so that, for example, these Dapples can't just get the jump on me because I made it easier for them to get close to me than I needed to. We are still a little bit damaged as we're, painting that up there, and I would probably want to heal some of that up sooner than later. Nice.
Yeah, I tend to struggle a little bit with noticing when I have low damage.
It's something like the indicators at the edges of the screen, they're just kind of a subconscious thing for me now, where if there's any of that there, I want to get rid of it.
Yeah, just being aware of the edge of the screen, including the top, is something I'm working on.
Alright, nice. Obviously, taking the damage can also be something that triggers a response for you, because that has a sound effect associated with it as well, so that can be helpful. So, cool, we get in there, Big Bubbler is well used, and we're able to get a score off and make it out. So, the goal here should be either that you are protecting someone who's scoring or getting more clams so that the team can score. One of those two things. And, depending on what your weapon is and what the situation is around the basket, you might pick one or the other. But the reason that I would lean more toward picking up clams right now is that looking at the upper left, we don't have any. So even if you are in position to protect someone, there's nothing to protect right now. Like, we can get control of the area around the basket, and it doesn't matter because we can't take advantage of that. So I would
Okay.
err on the side of going for the clams there. And now
Yeah, I think what happened there is I went for that power clam that disappeared, and then when it disappeared, I didn't look for other clams. I just went and, like, decided to take a new position.
And you want to think about, like, why you're taking that position in particular. Because there is an advantageous position up there if you're able to get in there with a long-range weapon. Like, you have high ground over the defenders. That's awesome. But you've got to have something that you can do with that. Because you're not going to stay there indefinitely. Like, unless your team is just absolutely blowing them out of the water and you can throw tactics, you know, out the window, you're not going to stay there the whole game. And so, if you're going up there, it should be for a reason, and that reason should be you're going to be able to score or help someone else score by doing it. Well, if there's no scoring push in place, not really too much of a point to going there. What you could be doing, for example, is getting clams and throwing them to people who can score them and then going back and getting more. If there are people who do have clams to score, then you can take that position and protect them. But there wasn't too much that you were going to be able to do by going up there at that point. Once you realize that your teammates have all gone down around it, you don't even want to be revealing yourself. Like, I think the shots that you fired at the enemy team probably should have gotten you splatted, but their frontliners weren't as aware of it.
Yeah, I realized I was way too slow to jump out there, and somebody actually had to call it before I did.
Gotcha. Well, good on them that they called it, and that's always, you know, helpful information to have when you're pushed up a little too much. So, I'm surprised that the Hydra here isn't just, like, aiming at you and, like, trying to go for you or something. It feels like they're just kind of shooting straight across mid, and so you get to take a free shot at them or something. I don't know. I feel like if a Hydra feels confident walking toward you with charge, you're like, okay, they know something I don't. But I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew. I think you could just fire that shot freely and they weren't going to do anything about it. So, works out. So the idea here is once they get up that ramp, they have to be turned sideways to you. There's no way for them to get up that ramp otherwise, unless they're swimming with it. So at that point, you can shoot them. You don't need to try to challenge, like, to hit them in between the swings if you're totally able to just shoot them in the side 100%. So teammate ends up getting that one. We are looking out right now. I took a second once, you know, that player went down and we were transitioning to looking back at mid. I knew that, like, I wasn't going to be in play for a second anyway, so I took the opportunity to look up at the top of the screen, and I noticed that the enemy team has a reef slider, so that's something that I'm looking out for. I'm making sure that I don't put myself with my back to a wall so that it can corner me. And teammate goes down right here. Fortunately, it gets traded back right away, otherwise you would have had to book it out of there. So I like that we're moving forward a little bit. We spot where the Hydra is now, so we know where our, you know, the one weapon that can outrange it, or can contest our range at least, is. And they also have an inkjet. Nice shot, sets up your teammate. In that situation there, we knew where that player was with the power clam, so I would probably try to charge a shot a little bit to go after them, just because I can see they're further away from me, but might have just been trying to recognize the depth perception can be hard sometimes, especially because of how power clam icons work. Yep.
I just realized where we are in the replay. I'm about to do a dumb.
It feels a lot like we're frontlining right now. The way that we took the fight with the anchor, with the clam holder, felt like, I'm gonna push this guy, and, like, now we're taking a position where, like, we're at close range with the enemy team, and that's just not what you're gonna be good at. You'd be helping more by being further back, because then you would be able to take these shots without them doing anything to you.
Yeah, and then I just stand there and let the duelists splat me. I'm not sure why I did that. But I've noticed this pattern that I have where when there's a push like up in an enemy ramp, for instance, sometimes I just pile in with the frontliners because it's like, oh, I've got to go help, and I don't think.
And the way that you're going to help is by taking a position that your weapon actually likes, by playing to your range. In any given fight, always be thinking of your range, and this goes for any weapon. If it's longer range than you, get closer to it, and if it's shorter range than you, kite it. So always be putting yourself in a position to kite, even if you're trying to make an aggressive play, if you're the longer ranged weapon, so that you don't get rushed down and like out DPS'd. I would consider jumping in there at least. I would at least like look at the map to see. It does look like the fight didn't go well, so...
Yeah, I pretty much always look at the map, so I probably did and decided I didn't want to jump in there.
Yeah, and based on what just happened, I wouldn't have wanted to either. But I'm glad that we're checking for it. You put yourself at an angle there where it was really difficult for you to do anything. Oh, God, not there. Wrong button.
When I jumped on the glass?
Yeah, when you were up on the glass, everything that there was to shoot at, you put yourself in a place where the floor was in the way, or you would have to expose yourself a lot more to be able to hit it. Like, so there's someone underneath, and then there's someone over to the left. If you shift over to the left, you can hit this power clam on the left, and you might even be able to get a shot on the player from underneath the glass. But if you just stay up here, they get to walk around you wherever they want, and, like, the most you can do is, like, throw that particular toxic mist. But also, now there's someone who's shifting over to the other side. Good stop. This is totally fine that, you know, that went in, because they're not going to score very much more. A little bit awkward there with that one player getting into position. Let's see... Let me think of, like, where we could have stood instead. Where we would have been able to stop this better. All of this movement, by the way, where you're moving over to the left, is making it a little bit more difficult for you to win fights, because you're putting yourself closer to the enemy team. Like, if they're throwing their power clam close to you over here, swimming toward it is going to make it easier for them to hit you. You could, like... back into the corner behind the roller, and so now they have to go through the roller to get to you, and that could work. And I understand that, like, part of why you're doing this is so you actually have an angle on them to stop them, but ideally here you might want high ground. You might have wanted to go to your back left instead, before this all started. And also now we have to deal with what's over here, and from here this would be a great opportunity to just go up the sponge and take the back left instead.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Why didn't I do that? Because I realize this game, some of my behavior is a little odd for me in that I'm taking the glass a lot more and taking the further back positions less.
Glass is a really strong spot because it gives you control over, like, the court area and the far right. And those are all things that, in a neutral situation, you're going to have to contest. But your positioning needs to reflect the state of the game. And right now, the enemy is in your base. So until you've cleared them all the way out of your base, being up on the glass is, like, a little too far forward. It's something they're going to try and knock you off. It's somewhere that, if they get up there, they're going to be able to rush you down. So this is... It's probably just, like, not recognizing, like, how many are up, how many are down, where are the people who are up and down. Like, there was a whole fight that happened over there on the back left, and you didn't know that that player was still alive, and so you're not aiming at them. So, like, let's break down, like, what I'm seeing, and then we'll see, like, where the decision-making comes in. So here, this player, you know, sneaks up on us, and it's a little bit awkward for us to get them, but we get them. So now we go up to here, and this makes sense because we're trying to get control of our court area now, which is this area out in front of us, the low ground. And, you know, that's where our frontliners are going to be pushing. We can see with the paint control that we're able to push out to there, that we're going to be able to move there quickly. Now, I immediately see this player on the left, and you throw a Toxic Mist at them, so you know they're there too. And you're going after them. They don't end up going down, so they're still around here somewhere, maybe below, and you're trying to shoot at that. I would probably not make these particular shots, just because if this player is looking at you and they're a short-range weapon, they can just hit you up there. You're not far enough away from them that they can't just hit you, and you're not going to be able to move back from the ledge in time that a Dapple Doolies doesn't splat you for that. You literally just don't have the human reaction time available to make it back away from that ledge before someone splats you for that. So that was dangerous. Doesn't get punished because they end up going after your teammate.
Yeah, that's good. I like to know about those unpunished mistakes because I'm pretty sure I make a lot of them.
So that ends up not getting punished, but then there's this, player out in front of us here, and we make this move backward away from the ledge and then back forward toward the ledge. I would have to just, ask what it was that you were intending with this, because for one thing, this makes us lose track of the player who's down there. We can't really see them. We don't really give ourselves a better angle to hit them from here. We're also not keeping ourselves any safer than we already were from them, because we could just back up and keep them on our sight line and be fine, because they're attacking our teammates right now and they aren't in range of us yet. So it might be some indecision or something, but fight happens down there and our teammate goes down. I'm looking for X's here. I know there's been an explosion. I need to figure out what's going on, and I'm looking for how many X's are there and of what color. Well, the only X that's available for us to see is of our teammate. So that means that the player who is down there is still there, and they won the fight. So now we're at a disadvantage, and there's a very narrow window right now for us to potentially trade that back and get our team back into a good situation numbers-wise. So that's what I would be focusing on right now, but it feels like as soon as we make that back-and-forth movement, the player who is down there is just out of sight and out of mind, and we're looking at something else. So that player ends up being able to move forward, and this is, in a vacuum, a nice pick that we get on the Hydra, but that pick on the Hydra being valuable depends on our front line holding against the people who are pushing. If we get that Hydra and then our frontliners are able to push into court because of it, that's awesome. But what happens instead is that because we weren't looking at the players who were in a position to score, they end up going through our front line and scoring, and now we've got frontliners that are behind us, we're cut off from the rest of the team, the basket is open, and it's really dangerous to be there. We're also walking forward in that situation. I think something that's happening to you a lot is that you get into one situation where you're trying to use your tap shots because someone got closer to you than you expected, and as soon as you switch into that mode, you don't switch out of it. Before, when you push...
That's good. I hadn't noticed that.
Before, when you pushed their switch, the switchback that goes up to the basket, you had that little engagement with, I think, the Dapples who jumped down from glass, if I'm remembering this correctly. There was someone there who had a power clam, and you started using tap shots against them. And then they backed up, but you kind of just kept going splatter shot mode. You kind of just kept going for more and more tap shots as you moved forward. So I think that might be a habit to work on. And here it happens too. What you really want to be doing here is, yes, tap shot while they're still around you, but be backing up while you're tap shotting so that at some point you can switch to firing in long range mode if they let you have that.
So question, where should I have been backing up in that situation?
Away from the frontline weapons. Whichever direction creates distance between you and them as fast as possible. So in this,
even if that involves dropping and not being able to contribute
in this case, it would have meant moving back towards the glass, and you had some space to be doing that because the sploosh still had to move around the corner toward you, and if the sploosh is going to get on top of you before you can splat them, at some point, dropping off the ledge and immediately super jumping is basically the only way you get out of that with your special charge intact. So that would have been an idea. what happens here is you actually beat the sploosh with the tap shots, which is great, but then you keep going forward, which is a problem for two reasons. Number one, because that's not an advantageous position for your weapon. Again, you want to be using your range advantage against anything else that, you splat the Hydra here, so literally everything else on the enemy team, now you outrange, and you'd rather be able to use that in a fight if you can help it. So you always want to be creating distance from anyone who's left. But also, in this fight, you end up getting damaged a little bit. Like, you take some shots there, and if you back up, like, go directly backwards from the angle you're looking at right now, you have that piece of cover off to your right that is still going to be in between you and the other player who's on the ramp here. But because we move forward instead, they actually are able to get close to us and land these shots. And so instead of healing the damage and creating distance from this super short-ranged weapon that we can just fire like a one-shot at if they give us the opportunity, we put ourselves in the range they want us to be in, where our weapon does less damage because we don't have one-shot potential anymore, while we're damaged instead of healing. So it's something that Kiver pointed out a long time ago that has stuck with me in a Splatoon 2 replay, where he noticed his teammate get a pick on an enemy player, and he was like, okay, great job. And then that teammate immediately ran forward and got splatted by someone else, gets traded back right away. And he was just like, why did you do that? Why did you do that? You did your job. You did your job. You got the pick. Don't just go give them a pick back. And what he's saying is, if you have just won a fight, especially at high level, you're very, very likely to be known to the enemy team and to be damaged. And those two things are going to give you a significant disadvantage on the next fight you try to take. So unless you had the jump on like a whole group of people and you're running something like a Tri-Slosher or a Carbon, or something with a really fast kill time, like maybe a 52, you probably just get traded back if you stay in after that. So once you get the one pick, maybe back up and reposition and get some damage shield off before you try to go for another one. If you got one pick and then just super jumped back to spawn after that, that would be a better outcome than what happened. You could also pop special to maybe try and discourage them from coming after you. It would reveal your location, but it would be an idea for dealing a little damage around the corner to, make them react or show themselves or something. So that's a possible idea. You could also have thrown a Toxic Mist. But moving forward toward them is the one thing that endangers you more than anything else in that situation.
Got it.
Alright, so we defend well enough that they don't get lead. One thing that I'm immediately thinking here is, how much do they need to get lead now? Because I'm worried, for example, about a situation where the enemy team only needs a single power clam and then they just take leads straight away. But this is not that situation. They need 24 points to get lead, because 23 would tie you, which would mean that you win the tie because you got there first. So it's power clam +2, which is a very small push, but they can't just put all their eggs in one basket and go for like a single clam super jump and be winning the game from that. So that part's nice. This is something that will come with experience, but your basket is going back up, a pity clam is about to drop, and you do not want to be underneath it. You want to save that. Well, okay, your teammate ended up
I've accidentally grabbed the pity clam quite a few times.
Yeah, and it looks like your teammate did too. It's way more valuable, especially at this phase in the game, to keep that under the basket for the time being, because you would really prefer for it to be there. Well, okay. It doesn't make a huge difference, I guess, because if they were to take lead back, then you would just get another one. So it's a little bit less important now. But at the end of the day, you'd love to have more scoring potential. And so, like, if you get a push organically, then you can jump that power clam in, and now you're, in even better shape. But you also don't want to be revealing a player is the big thing right now.
Yeah.
Someone going down with 1 minute left in the game can absolutely mean the end of the game. It can absolutely give them the lead and make it a lot more difficult. So at this point, you want to play really safe and just make sure that they're locked out of getting to the positions they want. So, sorry for neglecting chat a little bit here. Daniel, I am doing VOD reviews for people who have signed up ahead of time. So if you just contact me over Discord, is it this? I think it's this. There it is. Yes. So there are some instructions in case you're looking for a VOD review like this. Literally just message me on Discord. We'll set up a time. So it's not confirmed until I tell you that it's on the schedule, but that's when that'll happen. But back to this. So we see right now. Yes.
On this play, was it a good move that we had him trade the Clam to me?
Yes. Whoever is... So you want the Clam on whoever relies on stealth the least. You are a weapon with very long range that is going to be, therefore, in one of, like, 2 whole positions on the map. And you have a big shiny thing right on the front of your weapon that tells everybody where you are. So, you, out of anybody on the team, your position is most likely to be known at any given point in time. And obviously, there are times where it's advantageous to hide that by, you know, hovering behind a corner and then right side peeking it or something so that people don't see the shots coming.
Yeah. Or with my weapon just shooting over low cover.
Right. But most of the time, your position is going to be known as soon as you fire a single shot. Whereas something like the dualies, like they might fire shots in one place and then all of a sudden be on the opposite end of the map. And if they have a power clam, that's revealing them. And if they don't have that power clam, then it's not. So typically you are going to drop that off for the anchor. A rapid blaster isn't a bad weapon to have it. Like, it wouldn't hurt for them to hold on to it if they wanted to. But if they think they see value out of... if they think that they see value in being able to use the stealth, then by all means. Now, what happens here is a bunch of people get into places that your team, in theory, should be covering. So let's see what's going on from the overhead real quick. So first of all, this right side, one of the things that your team needs to do as they move out is make sure that this path is not there, that the sploosh is using right now. You, from your position on glass, can be turning to look at the right-hand side and see that trail and be like, huh, I don't want to give them a highway into our base, actually. And even if you can't cover the whole thing, because, you know, that's a pretty long trail that they've got all the way in, if you at least cut off part of it, then if you see that getting painted over again, now you know that somebody's coming. But as we can see from here, there was just no indication that anybody was over there because it was painted the whole time. And so they just swam through it and you missed it. So that's part of the problem. Another thing is that I think somebody actually comes up... Oh, no, okay, that player is just coming up from behind you. Okay, never mind. I thought someone came up the wall in court and that your team wasn't covering it, but no, that was all just coming in from the right-hand side.
I do sometimes forget that wall is there, so I wouldn't have been surprised if that happened.
Yeah, but I would have been a little surprised just because your teammates are all in there, and so it would have been a really hard shark if that were what happened. But that's the big thing, that there's this whole highway into your base, and in Clam Blitz, the way that you defend is by painting.
Yes.
If there is not paint in their way, then they score for free, and that will happen basically every time. And they'll, you know, get these flanks off and things like that, because we aren't stopping them. There's nothing in their way that is stopping them. They're just able to swim in there freely. So spotting that as a way into the base and not ignoring it is really important for being thorough and making sure that you're not getting snuck up on. It's generally pretty important to shoot torpedoes, because you took a whole ton of damage that you're still dealing with from getting hit by that torpedo. So I think you might have shot at it and missed. I couldn't quite tell. Maybe you were just focused on the dapples, but...
Yeah, I think I did take one shot and just missed it.
Gotcha. But at that point, it's too late. The sploosh is on top of you, so... There was the error that let them in. And now I like that we take the high ground here. We try to, put the toxicness there, and it just hits the basket.
There were a few shots in this game where I just hit cover that's right in front of me.
Yeah. So we're scanning, of course, for players who have a route to the basket. Like, if they're going to come in and try and score, where is it going to be from? Because, again, defending in Clam Blitz is all about the paint. Well, they're clearly not coming from the switchback. And so we start to look for something else, and we spot movement on top of the glass. And hopefully what we're able to do here is to lead our shots, because somebody who's going to come from that direction, we know where they're going. There is exactly one place on the map that they are interested in being right now. They are 2 clams away from lead. They're going to try and throw 2 clams in. So I wouldn't even necessarily be trying to react. I would just be aiming at the line that they have to go on in order to get to the basket. And once I have my shot fully charged, I should have a pretty good idea of where I need to aim that. And we end up actually hitting the cover wall there, which is unfortunate. But again, if we play a little more predictively and look at that, like, I know where they're going. I'm going to put my shot here. I think we actually stand a chance of one-shotting them before that can go in. But it's not a huge deal, honestly, because I don't know what they were. You don't hit clams from there.
Yeah, 3 of us just collapsed on them, and we're like, okay, that was a thing.
They were clearly trying to score, and I just don't think there's an angle from there where you can score. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, maybe they thought they had teammates up there and they were passing clams over them. Anyway, so win condition is now power clam plus 5 plus 3, so 3 individual clams on top of that. That is what gets us past their number of 47. So we want to bear in mind how many clams we need in order to be able to win, and we want to make sure that we have those when we're fighting them for control over their basket.
And we failed to do that, and that's why we're going to lose the game.
Because if we fight them and then go scrambling to look for the clams, it's a lot harder to find them, and it's a lot easier for them to spawn back in and stop us. If we have all of those clams ready to go, if we have more than that ready to go, then even if someone goes down, we have redundancies built in. We have extra people who have clams ready to throw in, even though we lost the main clam bearer. So all we really need... Oh, I don't know about picking up the pity there. It's an idea. We don't necessarily need to do it. What I would be focusing on trying to do right now is finding all the clams we can so that we can make a clam organically. And that way we all maintain stealth, but we're able to get in, and then whoever isn't the clam holder ends up having a few of their own so that they can get those extra 3 in. I would definitely not position myself near the power clam holder whenever possible, because that player is going to have a target on their backs. And you as the backliner, you're already too valuable to be putting yourself in a high value position like that, where the enemy team is already going to be focused to it. And there's that player from the right side again, and this is again why from the glass up there you really want to be painting this right side so that you know if someone's going to be running at you.
Yeah.
So player goes through on the left side. They're going to get the score in, but they are not going to have the clams needed the rest of the way. At this,
Yeah.
Okay, so with those clams being down there, I honestly think, even though it's not enough to win the game, your winning play is grab one of them and then run in and throw it in, because it keeps the basket open for longer that way. And then just hope that your teammates can super jump to you or something, because I don't think you have time to get all 3 down here. The enemy team knows that someone came in this way, and
I went for 2, but I think that was 1 too many.
yeah, it's hard at that point because your teammates are 2 down, so you kind of did have to do everything yourself. But yeah, that was rough. And yeah, so that little calculation, it may seem like nerdy to try and do that kind of a mental math, but it really does change the game, knowing whether you have enough clams to win it. So, alrighty.
Yeah, this is definitely reinforcing my decision to work on my awareness, for sure.
Yeah.
Because, like, the whole not painting when I shoulda.
Defensive painting is something I have a video on, which might be valuable to see. But basically the idea is you want to know whenever anyone is coming toward you. As soon as you don't know that, you have to back up. And the only way to know that is to have that area painted thoroughly enough that you know nobody could have gone through there. Then if you see them going through,
Yep.
it's a telltale sign. It's like you've got the area warded. It's like you've put something down there that gives you vision through fog of war in a MOBA. You just know that they've gone through because there's a neon-colored line showing that they went through there. So the awareness is something that like takes a lot of work in general and will always be something that'll take a lot of work. But the more information you have, the better decisions you can make. And right now it feels like the major game-losing plays that happened just because, you know, it's not that you wouldn't have made the right decision if you'd known, it's just that you didn't have the information you needed. At that one moment that they were pushing your switchback, you cut off your vision. You know, you turned your camera in a way, you moved in a way where you couldn't see the fight that was going on below you. When you were up on glass, there was this area that was painted their color that we didn't really respond to, and so we just didn't know that that thing was happening. And you would have absolutely done the right thing if you'd known, and you can see from the KAs that, like, y'all were kind of destroying them in terms of fights, but because of that lack of information, they snuck one in.
Yeah, that's part of why I chose this one.
Mm-hmm. So, were y'all hearing the thunder in the background? It's definitely been happening. People are saying thunder electricity in chat, so I figure maybe that happened. But
I do have a question. I realized going back through this, there's a lot of times I drop down from what's the place just above the basket called?
I want to. Normally, we would probably call that area bats, but I'm actually forgetting, and this is bad because like I wrote the call-outs, but in my defense, there are a lot of them.
Oh wait, actually, I've got the call-outs thing.
Here we go. I'm pulling it up right now. It's elbow. Oh, great. Okay, you're talking about great.
Yeah,
oh, that
great.
makes sense.
There's a bunch of times that I dropped down from great really fast after I spawned back in. Should I have paused there, like checked around me, checked the map before I dropped? Because I noticed that happening a lot.
I didn't see like any really terrible drops from great that were just like getting you splatted right away. But if you're not checking for information, then the answer is yes. Anytime you're gonna
I'm not sure if I was.
Anytime you ever drop off a ledge, it needs to be motivated. There needs to be like a checklist of things that you look for out on the map before you commit to something that dangerous. Because dropping off a ledge means that you don't have a way back. And like normally, you know, if this were a game like Splatoon 2 or Splatoon 1, you'd have a wall you could paint to get back up. And even that would be slower, but at least it's something. But in this game, basically every drop is a one-way drop. Basically every drop is unpaintable.
Look, I'm a new player, and I constantly gripe about that.
Yeah. The lack of paintable walls in this game is really frustrating. So, anyway, if you're going to drop off a ledge, it's a very dangerous thing to do, and you need to make sure that like the area around that drop is safe for you to be in, and that you will have an alternate escape route if something does show up unexpectedly when you get there. So taking a second before you drop off to confirm, okay, yeah, we do actually have control of that space, that not only keeps you safe, but it will also tell you what the state of the game is. Like, okay, we do actually have control of all of what I can hit right now. So in order for me to be impactful, I need to move up to another more aggressive position anyway. And that's kind of when you want to be moving up. It's like you move up when it feels silly to be staying where you are anymore.
Okay, gotcha.
That's not to say that like you shouldn't shift positions, but moving up specifically, like taking a more aggressive position, that's something that you do when there's nobody left to shoot at, or you can foresee that very shortly there will be no one left to shoot at. Moving side to side is a very good idea, because that means that they can't see you as well. So if you're like down in mid and you're going back and forth between the two alleys, then that would be something that you're not moving forward or back, but you are throwing them off by showing up in different places, and that can be beneficial.
Okay, that's good to know. I'm definitely going to go back through the VOD of this later.
Sounds good.
Anything specific I should be working on other than my awareness? All right, you said the moving, the gain in tap shot mode and just moving forward thing.
Right. That's definitely a big thing, because playing your range is the way that I would summarize all of that. Basically, like I said, when you're a longer ranged weapon, you kite. And when you're a shorter ranged weapon, you rush down. That's assuming open ground, no cover, no other factors involved. That's the way that you have to play it to get advantages. So in those situations where you're at a short range fight that you don't want, you back up to try and gain a better situation. Because if you back up far enough, now their shots aren't hitting anything, and you're buying yourself extra time to win the engagement. And also, if you're damaged, heal that off. That was kind of a running theme throughout the match as well, that you were taking damage and not dropping down into the ink to heal it when you took it. So it was making you vulnerable to extra danger from like chip damage from the enemy team, which wouldn't otherwise have been threatening, but because you were already damaged was a lot more threatening.
Yeah, I think that may be a bad habit I've gotten into from playing against mostly weaker players who just kind of let me backline.
Yeah.
As opposed to like actually pushing me.
Yeah, whenever you take some damage, it's always a disadvantage to go into another fight afterward, because you just have half the health bar that they do. So, something to think about.
Heal damage, play my range, and awareness. Okay. Do I have any other questions?
There might have been something in there about Clam Blitz objective play, where when we're pushing, here is what I do, because you have a very limited amount of time to do that, and you want to have a plan before that happens for what you're going to be doing. So things like recognizing how many clams you have so that you know whether you need to ferry more of them in. Recognizing when you lose numbers advantage so you know when to back off and not over push. Knowing when there's someone scoring but there's no one to protect them so that you can take that position and know which positions to take. That's kind of your flow chart.
Yeah, which positions to take on pushes, especially clam pushes, is still something I sometimes struggle with depending on the map.
Mm-hmm. I think you had a pretty good understanding of like what you wanted to do there for like fighting positioning. Like that was absolutely the best place that you wanted to be as the backline weapon there, if you're still in control of the basket. Problem was like the situation was not right for trying to hold there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Anything else I should know, or?
That does sound like about everything that I talked about that was a pattern. Phantomu thanks you for playing Tri-Stringer.
You're welcome. I will continue to play Tri-Stringer even when Wellstring comes out. Not looking forward to Wellstring.
We'll see what it's like. But, that's
well,
about all I got.
Even if Wellstring is terrible, I still have the new Splatana.
There you go. We all
anyway,
do have that.
Jam.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for, being a good listener, a good learner, and for being willing to be criticized in front of dozens of people, because not everyone's cool with that.
All right, we're in a stream.
Yep. Say hi to the people.
Hi to the people.
Anyway, thank you so much. We will be moving on now to Ty Phoenix, who I think
All right.
has another replay, but has not messaged it to me yet. So hey, elbow, elbow, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Should I just mute myself?
There's not really too much more to say unless we're going to be playing matches later, which I guess we're not sure about yet. So if you wanted to mute, you could. If you wanted to drop out of the call, you could. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll just drop out and watch stream.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep. There we go. Now we have a replay code. So, plugging this in now. Custom Junior. Does Phantomu stream? I feel like she might have a channel. I don't remember the last time. I know she's done some commentary before. I don't remember if she's streamed. But if you're looking for Tri-Stringer players, there are a couple to speak of. There's Arito, of course, player for a team called Mickey Mart that ended up winning Genesis X, so you could go and try and find whatever it is that they're doing. Shoot, doesn't Setu play Bo as well, or am I misremembering? I think it might be Setu. And there's also, for a more prolific streamer at least, there's Nicolini, who has been a big fan of Tri-Stringer, was a Bamboo player in S2, and more of like an entertainment-focused content creator, but is still, stronger at the game than me. And definitely a good person to watch for picking up how the weapon works. And Barry probably has played a little bit of it too, although Barry's specialty is much more the charger. I am bouncing a little bit because when I bounce my legs, it bounces the table and then the camera bounces. Sorry if that's nauseating or something. It's just a habit. So, hopefully that's Nicolini spelled correctly. I don't remember how many L's and N's there are and everything. But, okay. And I am still projecting in here. Oh, but Ty Phoenix is not in here. Ty Phoenix, if you would like to join Waiting Room, the VC in the Squid School Discord server, then I can drag you up and you can see this in real time instead of there being stream delay between what I say and what you see. Or what I say and see, I guess, compared to like your response to it. So it won't be desynced audio and video for you, but there you are. Ba-dum. Welcome to the super secret inner sanctum. And you can click on my name and click watch stream, and then you'll be seeing in real time, faster than everybody else.
I didn't know there was this much stream delay until now. I thought it was 2 seconds. This is like 10.
Under ideal circumstances. Yeah, no, it's not that good. Are you able to see?
Yeah, I am.
Awesome. All right, we'll get started then. Is this just a solo queue?
Yeah, this isn't solo queue. 3 of my team members are here. Slayer Deluxe, excuse the name, and Mangalore. Denji's a random, and our anger couldn't come to practice.
Okay. So, do you want this to be more of an individual focused VOD review, or do you want me to be looking at the overhead and commenting on the whole team?
I think we're pretty bad at communication, so maybe overarching.
Okay, can do. Obviously, I can't comment on the callouts because I can't hear those, but we can at least talk about what's going on from the overhead here. So, let's talk about comp first. The weapons here I get the sense that this is just kind of like you're playing what you guys are comfortable with.
Yeah.
Like these are just kind of the weapons that we know, and we're on a team. Um, and what I would probably recommend at some point, and it doesn't have to be now, but at some point your team wants to look at, okay, here are the kinds of weapons that we play well. How can we make very small tweaks so that people are still on things that they're relatively comfortable with, but that give us significant like bonuses in terms of weapon synergy and the specials that we're looking for, and being able to play to the meta a little bit more. Um, what does your anchor tend to play?
Our anchor, he plays. I think he plays Hydra.
Okay. Um, so let's assume that the comp right now is, because obviously your umbrella is random. Let's assume that it's Hydra, Big Swig, Doolies, and Custom Junior. So a couple things to say about these weapons that will have a bit of an impact that it'll be hard to see right away, but that will be impacting like tournament performances. You do have plenty of paint, and that's one advantage that you've got going for you. But one of the big things that you're going to run into right away is that there are a bunch of midline Slayer weapons in the meta right now that are going to be really difficult for you guys to push. It's going to be hard for you to get in against things like Squeezers, Stampers, even something as short range as a 52 gal will outrange pretty much everything except for the Hydra. Buckets. There are a lot of things that are specifically designed to delete players trying to like rush in. Because that's how the meta has developed around Tacticooler right now. So, for example, your N-Parry Dualies are going to have a really hard time getting in. Not because that weapon is bad at getting in, but because what everyone is doing right now is standing a little bit further back with weapons that outrange that and stopping it before it can get close. And because the maps don't have as many flank routes, it's a lot harder for a weapon like that to get in, especially on something like Mincemeat. This might be just like open, I would assume, because you were paired up with a rando, but
Yeah, this is open.
and maybe you were hoping for the other map, but this is a map where it is really hard to get in at all. You have two ways in. One is through mid, and one is by jumping over the right truck. And that's it. And that's a very narrow bit of space that everyone on the enemy team is already going to be looking at, often with very long-ranged weapons. So,
It's possible to jump over the right truck.
like, you get up on top of the right truck and then drop over onto the bottom right side.
Oh, that's what you meant. I thought you meant jumping on the front of the truck. Sorry.
Oh, no. Right side from your team's perspective, right? So you go up the back of the truck and then drop down over it. So those are the two ways in, and there's like no cover going either of those ways. You see on this map a lot of like Tentabrella, a lot of E-Leader, a lot of like really long-ranged weapons. In this mode, you can see things like Explo and even Bloblobber sometimes, where they're just locking down a whole lot of space without having to think very hard about it and painting a lot. And what are you going to do to stop them from painting? If you try to walk forward, you get shot by the E-Leader. So that's kind of how this map tends to get played. And even if you're not going to play to that, what you choose for the map mode, you kind of want to adapt so that you have tools to get through that sort of a defense. I have a feeling that this is going to be relatively difficult for you guys because you have a really long-ranged weapon in the Explo that's going to be looking at you the whole time. The Stamper is not that short-ranged compared to the Explo. Like, it has heavy splatling range, and that's going to be stopping you guys from pretty far away. So your success is going to depend, in this case, on being able to keep those weapons busy long enough to run somebody else at them. You can play to the inkjet that your teammate has. Maybe they get underneath a ledge at some point, and because of that, they're able to inkjet over the top and take out the Explo or something. You can try to maybe get splashdowns up over the top at them from the end parries. You can, throw storms at them, or maybe like line markers or something. You can throw torpedoes at them. But you need to be able to use the tools you have to counter that kind of long-range pressure. And especially once people start shooting down more and more of your torpedoes, especially once people are really looking at curling bomb trails and tracking those, this feels really difficult. You have all the paint that you need to be able to hold the zone, but the problem is if they just take like one step forward while they're at max range from you, now they can hit you and you can't hit them, and so you have to back up, and they just kind of keep doing that one step at a time. And if they paint to protect themselves from being rushed down and that you don't have like a special to push them back with, you kind of just lose ground that way. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so we all drop down into mid, all in the same spot. It's probably a good idea for somebody with some range or a flanking weapon to be going to the right side, so that you're at least like appearing like you're threatening that, and they have to at least look at it instead of just being able to look at all of you in the same spot.
Question: which one of us in the comp we're using right now would count as a flanking weapon?
So weapons that want to run at you, basically, that can go fast. End parries is definitely the number one out of them. I wouldn't consider any. I have seen very aggressive big swig play, I will say. I've seen like sharking big swig work. I do feel like almost any other roller in the game is actually better equipped to do that job than the big swig roller, but the big swig roller can do it. So probably the end parries, if you're trying to play aggressively, you put them over the right side. Because against experienced players, if you try to like put a curling bomb over the zone and then just swim through it, they're going to shoot at the ink trail. They're going to find you, realize you're going there, and they're going to stop you. So it's probably more likely that you get over if you're trying to move over the right side at the same time that your team is pushing the zone, so that now if someone's standing where their Splatana Stamper is standing right now, if you drop over the right side, now the Stamper has to choose between either looking at the people in front of them or looking at you to their left. And that's when you get an advantage on that player. Like, whoever they're looking at just plays safe and stays alive, while whoever they're not looking at goes and splats them. And that's the situation you're trying to create by dropping there. But, so we end up not being able to paint the zone enough to hold it, and now we're in some trouble. For one thing, the left side never got painted at all, so we don't have an escape route to get out of there at all. And that means that everyone on the enemy team knows that you guys have to retreat to your right, their left, and they might collapse on that. We'll see what they do. The Dapples go in, but they go in alone, so we could potentially just trade this back here. It looks like the Big Swig doesn't recognize that the Dapples are there. This was on one of the players that was there with you, so when they go down, they want to be calling out to the rest of the team that they went down. Every time you splat someone and every time you go down, that should always be a call out. That's always useful information for the rest of your team to know. So one place you can start, you were saying that your communication is something you need to work on. One place you can start is every single time someone goes down, every single time you go down, that's a call out. And for the rest of the team, whenever they hear one of those things, that makes them reconsider the game state, because when someone goes down, that means that now the advantage state has shifted. We were at 4v4, now we're at 4v3. So what do we need to do differently now? If we're behind, we want to be backing up and not taking fights so that we're not giving them advantages. Fighting 4v4 is even. Fighting 3v4, someone on our team is getting 2v1'd during the middle of that. And we never want that. We never want to take a fight that's not advantageous for us. So we'd rather just not end up in a fight at all until we get our teammate back, which means if they're running forward at us and trying to start a fight, we want to be backing up away from the fight. So when our teammate goes down, it doesn't feel like there's much of a reaction to that happening. It feels like we're just kind of standing in place and trying to do the same things we were doing. And that lets them just kind of get another one.
I
The same
think
thing
we
ends up
got
happening
wiped
here.
out.
We do start to turn and fight the Dapples at this point, but by now it's too late because we're already down 2 players now, and the rest of the enemy team is moving forward to help in this fight. So while we could have isolated that one player and collapsed on them and taken our 3v4 and made it into a 3v3 before any of them could help, because the Dapples ran forward a little too quickly, because we take as long as we do, it's not going to be an isolated player anymore. Now they have the help, and we get them, but then we get traded back, and now it's a 1v3, and this is a lost engagement. You were going to say?
So, oh, I was gonna ask, other than just throwing bombs, what can we do to stall the opponents while our teammates come back?
Back up and paint defensively. And what you're doing while you're painting, remember, is getting special charge. So you're going to give up a little space at first, and the enemy team is going to be able to move forward. But in exchange for that, you're getting the resources that you need to push them back once your teammates get there. You're going to have a special that's ready to throw out there, and that special should be something that's powerful enough that it stops the enemy team from being able to get in your way. They have to move back again, and now you have access to mid once you've used those resources. One thing I would comment on this team is that the resources you have to get back in are not particularly aggressive. You've got an Ink Storm, which isn't bad, especially for painting the zone, and it can cover some ground and you can fight with it a little bit. But it's not going to make someone move immediately. And then you've got a Wave Breaker, which is one of the weaker specials in the game right now in terms of the impact that it's going to have immediately. Splashdown is very volatile. Sometimes it can get, a double or something, but a lot of the time you'll just get shot out of it or won't hit anybody. So that's also a little bit risky. The best approach tool you have that will actually force the enemy team to move back is probably the Inkjet on your Umbrella. A Booyah Bomb from your Hydra would also be a really good tool for starting a fight and getting you guys back in. But because you're not playing with that player, we're really looking at our Umbrella for when they have special. So this is, I would generally, if I'm to make a suggestion about changing comp, if there's a weapon that we want to slot people into that's slightly different from what you guys currently have, but still very similar. One thing I would consider, especially on this map, is taking your dualies from end parries to vanilla dualies, where you have the crab tank. It's out for longer, it has longer ranged pressure, and it's got, if you put it in the right places and try to surprise people with it, it's a little bit more certain to get splats than the splashdown is. But even if you don't get the splats, you lock out the area that you're looking at for, 9 seconds or something. Whereas with the splashdown, you lock it out for 2 seconds. So that could be something that gives you the cover fire that you need to get your frontliners back in. And then Junior right now, the custom Junior has just not had a great time in Splatoon 3 in general. It's not been popular in competitive play at all. A lot of the time people will prefer the vanilla kit to it. Splat Bomb is something that you can't shoot out of the air. It's something you can't stop from doing damage, which is super nice. And it's lethal damage instead of just chip damage. So it's generally preferred. And also the big bubbler on zones is really nice because you can stop them from shooting the zone. That spot, they're just blocking shots that would be painting the zone, so that it makes it easier to cap if you can get the bubbler out on the zone. So those are a couple of ideas. As for Big Swig, I mean, neither of the kits are super conventional. They're Flings the Roller or Dynamo or other things that you could consider. You could also consider the Carbons or the Splat Roller. A lot of those are seeing more use, but it also plays a different niche than most of those things. So if they like Big Swig, you can keep them on Big Swig and you can play around that. But those are a couple of changes that would bring this more in line with what we're seeing in the metagame without changing too much of its identity. One other thing I would recommend, though, is that basically every competitive team right now, past a certain point, is running Tacticooler. Tacticooler is just so insanely powerful that it changes the risk reward calculation of every single fight. Because now instead of taking 10 seconds to respawn, you take 3 seconds to respawn. And that means that one splat on someone without Tacticooler is worth 3 splats on your team when they have Tacticooler. It's just like so wild how much that shifts the way the game plays. And at a top level, you're basically never going to see someone run coolerless. So that's also something to think about. And that's Zap is something that like you could throw the junior player on. Zap is something you could put the dualies player on if they want to play a little bit more supportive. You could also put your backline player on Pencil if that was something they wanted to learn, although it sounds like they play Splatlings, so if they're not interested in flexing as much, that would be something else to think about. But you could also, you know, if your Big Swig player wanted that, you could put him on Dynamo. You can get creative with it, but that is something that I'm not going to like stress about, especially since the other team doesn't have a Tacticooler either, so you're not going to see the difference between having one and not having one in this particular game. But if you play around it in a coordinated fashion, the impact that it has is truly massive. It's like you've just added 2 extra players to your team for every fight. And you also are much more likely to get your specials off, get your specials more often, because getting splatted with the charge means you just don't lose it at all. And you just get to spawn in with something like a crab tank ready to go, which is insane. So those are my thoughts on the comp, and you can take as many of those thoughts as you want and as few thoughts from there as you want. There might be some parts in this game where I talk about, like, here is why, you know, you're having trouble doing this, and, like, it might be because of the weapon comp not necessarily supporting a play you're trying to make. But I'm not going to, you know, harp too much on, you know, you should be running this weapon or this weapon. Because, like, play the game you want to, man. I'm just here to observe what's happening as a result of the choices that y'all are making one way or another. So, your teammate is being very brave. Oh, okay, they've got an 8-jet out at the moment. They were kind of seeing that they were getting boxed into a corner, seeing that they didn't have a lot of help, and so they just pop a special to try and keep themselves in there. And if they survive this, or get a pick or something, it actually might be worthwhile. It's not necessarily a bad idea to use a special just to stall the enemy team from being able to lock you out. Like, if that Brella were completely out of the way and the enemy team were able to just, like, get onto your side and paint it up completely so it's really difficult for you to drop down, you're in a lot more trouble than you currently are with the teammate being there. The problem with their play is that if they go down here, now your team is staggered. Do you know what I mean when I say staggered?
Not fully.
So, there's a concept I talk about in one of my videos called the feed stagger loop. So feeding is running at the enemy team and getting splatted without accomplishing anything. And then that can cause staggering. A stagger is when some of your team is down, but the rest of your team is still deciding to fight. Let's say, very simple example, there's a 4v4 fight that happens, and 2 of your players go down in that fight, and so you've lost the fight. It's 2v4 right now. If the 2 players that are still there decide to keep fighting, now it's a 2v4, so each one of them could be getting 2v1'd, or one of them could be getting 4v1 while the other's ignored. They're really unlikely to actually win that engagement. So what's really likely to happen is those 2 players run in and feed, lose the fight, get splatted for nothing, against this team of 4. Let's be really charitable, because a 2v4 should not go well, but let's say that one of them actually manages to trade as they're going down. So now it's a 1v3. Or, sorry, now it's a 0v3, because the 2 of them go down, but at least they got 1 back. Well, now, the 2 players who got splatted in the first fight respawn, and if the 2 players who were alive before had waited instead of going in and feeding, now, with the first players respawning, you'd have a full team again. You'd be ready to go in and have another 4v4 fight and try to win it this time. But because we took a second fight when we were at a disadvantage still, we're still at a disadvantage. And if those two players go in and fight again and go down again, now the other two players respawn and they're still in a disadvantageous fight. And this can just kind of keep looping on itself if nobody pauses, paints for special, waits for the rest of the team to regroup, and puts up the best fight that their team is capable of putting up. Sometimes, in order to go fast and actually take the map back, you need to wait. Because waiting means that you're actually likely to be successful. If you just keep going down, everyone goes in except for the players who are down, and then they go down, and then the person respawns, and you just keep feeding and staggering like this, you could theoretically just never be at an advantage for any fight that you take in the entire game. And the only way that this loop breaks is either your team wins a fight where they have a disadvantage, so you actually win that 1v3 somehow, or if somebody notices that it's happening and says, hey, wait, we've just got to chill for a second, wait for everybody to respawn, and then it's only once everyone is back and ready to go that you all go in together, and now you have an even fight again. So I'm going to check to see if this happens, because it looks like it's pretty likely to happen right now, especially if this Brella goes down to the missiles. Okay, good. Looks like they survive. Cool, and we're all regrouped again. Okay, so the Brella's play works, and we don't end up staggering the team. If the enemy team had been able to get that Brella out of the air, you would have been staggered. That is, you lost a fight, and then the Brella stayed in and kept fighting, and they lost their fight, so now you would have been at a 3v4 if that had happened. But because they stay alive the whole time, you're at a 4v4, and that special was actually able to keep them from being able to take further position on the map. So it did work out. So we're down one right now. But they're not pushing us super hard for this. They should really just be, like, diving on top of that and, like, painting the zone over us because they just have more painting power now that our Big Swig is down. Or, actually, it was someone else that was down. Big Swig just went down to the Reef Slider. But when we are down in numbers, the smart thing for them to do is to push their advantage. That is, rush us. Because they're more likely to win if they have more players. So if they just run all of their players at you right now, they probably get to win that fight. So if they start trying to do something like that, you've got to be ready, knowing that they will have the advantage, and you want to be backing off. You want to have an escape route ready to go. Here, part of the problem is that we just don't have an escape route on the left still. We've lost a player on that left side twice now to not having any of that painted, and the Dapples being aware that we can't run away in that direction. So that's something we probably should try to paint at some point here. Otherwise, if we just stay in the same place like this, we're bottled up. We're stuck. They put some kind of AoE out there, it's going to hit somebody. But we end up trading this back, and now we're going on the offensive, which is great. We end up trading, and oof. So the push from you across the zone works well if it is supported by the rest of the team. You said again that you've had troubles with callouts before. If you're going to make this play against the Splatana Stamper, what needs to happen is that you need to call, I'm pushing right, come help right, something like that, to get them to move in with you. Because notice what happens here as you go in. The rest of your team backs up, whereas their team moves forward, and now there's a Stamper in front of you and an Explo behind you. In theory, they should actually be able to keep the rest of your teammates back while also double teaming you because of how you're isolated from your teammates here. They don't end up doing that. They end up just using the Explo and the roller to push back against your team. But this easily could have turned into a 1v2 against you that you would have lost. So that's why you want to be bringing your teammates in with you and like calling for them to go in and help you with that, so that there's somebody there to like look at the Explo if the Explo turns to look at you. But They go in with this special, and we're not really ready for it, but our special does trade them back. Problem is, at this point, because we lost 2 players there and they only lost 1, the trade ends up letting them keep the zone, and now points are just ticking down the whole time that we're respawning. So hopefully Big Swig here just plays it safe, and that is not what they're doing. So the missiles, I talked about this earlier in the stream, about like moving forward when missiles are targeting you. Were you here to hear that part?
Yeah, I think I was. It was make sure to treat them seriously, because if you get into a fight and need to move back, the missiles might make it so you can't move back.
Exactly. So same kind of deal happens here, but I mean, they're moving across a grate, so it's not like the missiles are actually painting their escape route, but grates are also not a fast escape route. And I don't think they would have gone as far forward on the grates if it weren't for the missiles forcing them there. So they are just kind of stuck. Now, they are a roller, so they might actually win this against the Dapples. No, they don't. Okay. But they're only in that bad position because they moved in front of the missiles instead of staying back behind the missiles. So that's a situation where, seeing that they're the first player up, that the rest of their team hasn't regrouped with them yet, and seeing, the missiles go out, you want to stay on the backside of those, play defensively until the rest of your team is back, and then if you survive those missiles, well, cool. They've just wasted one of their best specials because it didn't hit anybody. We've got all 4 members of our team. Now's a great opportunity for us to go and get something done. But now we've lost a player, and if the rest of the team goes in, they're likely to stagger. So it's dangerous for our teammate to be moving in on the right. It's especially dangerous for our teammate to be moving in on the right and for us to go all the way over to the left-hand side. Because now, if they just rush at our teammate, or at our umbrella player, who can help them? It's not really anybody who's in a position to do that. We're held back by the blue ink in between us and them. We're held back by the fact that they're at high ground, and anyone who rushes at them is also going to be at high ground once they splat that player. And if we try to move toward them, the roller is going to be looking at us the whole time, and probably the Explo too. So because we move this far away from them, they might be in trouble. But the enemy team's playing really passive. They're not taking advantage of this at all. So we kind of just get to go in. Unfortunately, the Brella does eventually get too aggressive and go down. This probably gets traded back, though. I imagine we probably get the dualies. Yeah. Good read on knowing that the dualies were going to come in there, because they've pushed that side of the map twice now. So having something ready for them as soon as they come through is a smart play. And now you're making the same play that we talked about before, where you're pushing across the right side of the zone to go after the Stamper here. And again, it's not that I dislike that idea in a vacuum, but in order to make this work, you need your teammates to go in and help you. And they're, if anything, backing up while all this is happening. So it's just a 1v1 between you and the Stamper. You end up winning. That's generally not a matchup I expect the Junior to be able to win, because I expect the Stamper can just kite you back, or if you get too close, that it can just one-shot you. So, good job winning that.
I think a general problem with me is that I either am too stubborn or I'm not aware of my teammates' positions. Because I think I go for a similar push like that against the Dapples at one point, and I trade with them too.
If this is your general role on the team, if you like to make these aggressive pushes, I would definitely recommend against the Custom Junior specifically, because the weapon has a little bit of a slower kill time than a lot of the other shooters that you could be making the same play with. It has pretty low accuracy, and most importantly, its range is really poor. Even something like a Splash-O-Matic is a huge step up in terms of your ability to play aggressively. It still paints just as much. The vanilla kit, actually both of them really get much more impactful specials, and it also gives you perfect jump accuracy. So you could be jumping with the weapon and still aiming and lasering someone. So if you're trying to play aggressively, even something like that would be a step up. If you don't mind a slight reduction in movement speed, then you're really looking in the meta right now at something like a splatter shot or a 52 gal for trying to make those kinds of plays. So if that's the way that you want to be playing, those are the weapons that people are generally using to do that sort of thing at a top level right now. just because the faster time to kill and the larger range is so important for being able to win engagements like this. So that's something for you to think about. And again, if you would rather just play aggressive custom junior, I will not stop you. But I'm putting the idea across because that's a tool that people are using to do the same job that I think is better suited to that job. So we're starting to move up here. I like that we get the pick on their roller here. I like that we're trying to take space that they can use to paint the zone from. Like, we're seeing this is a guy who's painting the zone. We're either going to make them move back so that they can't reach the zone, or we're going to get rid of them. And they stood in place for too long, we got rid of them. Now, as long as we just hold the zone here, we should be able to get a more advanced position and maybe even get rid of the X-Blow. So that's awesome. And we end up being able to beat the Stamper as well. I think the Stamper thought that their dash would go further than it actually does. Because they were going for melee range, and that didn't work, so they just got hit twice.
I'm not that good at gauging gauging Splatoon of his dashes, so I genuinely don't know how that works.
There's just a certain distance that the dash will go at maximum, and if you do not reach your opponent with that distance, then you do not get the one shot. It just misses. You just throw out a normal charge slash. So, we've got a really successful flank that just happened on the left. The roller is in behind the enemy team, and we've taken out 2 members. Now is a time to be telling the rest of your team to push up with you. I want your dualies to be fighting the dapples with you. So, like, you push around the right side of the zone, your dualies push around the left side of the zone, you try to get rid of that player, and you know, if the X-Blow is looking at you, then maybe you back up a little bit, but know also that the X-Blow is about to have to move because there is a big swig roller behind them. Oh, no. Okay.
Oh.
They needed to go after the X-Blow. Once you get into that position on the enemy plat, you really don't want to leave it. You had 3 people that were still watching the zone and were still able to outpaint the enemy team on it. But that position is really hard to get. Like, you had to get 2 picks just to get access to it. You don't want to give it up. Stay up there, do as much damage as you can, get that X-Blow to jump out or something. But we want to keep that spot, because if we can keep that spot, we lock the enemy team out of being able to play the game. And now, like, the X-Blow can kind of just get out if they want. They end up going for a splashdown instead. They could have just backed up. They literally could have just taken like 3 steps back and nobody would have been able to hit them, and they get the rest of their team in with jumps and stuff. So not the play I would make on the X-Blow's part here. It does get 2. Ends up working out, I guess, because I think they stabilize and get the zone from that. So the fact that we went 2 down to it, I think, means that that worked out. But
I think we generally don't know how to deal with triple splashdown. Feels like we can never gauge that hitbox. We never know when it's gonna hit.
Yeah, it comes out pretty fast. What you're looking for is the circles that are around each fist and the player. You got to figure out where they're centered, because then you will know what you get what you can use as cover from them. In this particular situation, if you're too close to the ledge underneath the X-Blow player when they launch this, you probably can't get away, because I think all of those areas were covered. It's basically either can you swim out of range of this, or you just get splatted. But sometimes you can look at like where the fist is going to land and be like, okay, well, that's landing on this side of this piece of cover. If I get to this side of this piece of cover, then it blocks the splash damage. So that would be an option. But sometimes you are kind of stuck. Sometimes you can shoot down the one hitbox that will go after you, and then if you're fast enough, it's just that one hitbox that threatens you, the others don't hit you, then you're safe. So there are some options there, but also splashdown is more dangerous the higher up it is, because that makes it more likely that you can't even reach the fists or the player to shoot them down. And you can't prevent that damage from happening. So, with a comp that's this short range, you probably couldn't do as much about that. If you have a Hydra up on the grates right now in mid, it can probably take out at least one or two of those hitboxes, and make it a lot more likely that you guys get out. So here's something that we were talking about on the previous VOD review. There is a way into your side of the map, which is up over the left truck, right? The enemy team can use that spot to get in and around you. And because it's a way in, you don't want to move forward until you have painted it thoroughly enough that you know that nobody has gone there. If we leave blue paint on that side of the map, somebody's going to be able to go through and do this, and there's not a lot that we can do to stop it, because we can't always be looking over there. There's probably someone who's going to sneak through. So one of the things that we generally just want to be doing on this map is keeping that left side painted more than we have been. For one thing, that'll give us our special faster, but for another thing, it'll keep us safe from whatever is about to happen with these dualies. Dualies get in, and they end up trading, which isn't the worst case scenario. But if we had seen that before it got to us, we probably get the pick clean, because every single one of our weapons outranges theirs.
Gonna be honest, I wasn't fully aware of the fact that you were talking about the dapples until I actually saw the clip.
Gotcha. But yeah, do you want me to rewind it a little and talk through it again?
Yeah.
I need to back up a little more. Okay. So look at your left-hand side. So it's the top of the screen, but it is your team's left side. See how from the top of the truck over there, you could just drop down and have like a path made in blue ink without making any new ink that would get you like straight behind Mangalore?
Yeah.
We don't want to give them paths like that. We never want to allow something like that to happen. That's something we talked about on the previous VOD review, where there was that trail to the right that was getting them into your basket. If we leave them that, then they're going to use it at some point, and it's going to be at the worst possible time for us. So in comes the dapples. So we end up trading, which I like how we've been like trying to use our specials to counter patterns that we see on the enemy team. Like, that's a good general trend, and we want to keep trying to play adaptively like that. Like, oh, they're rushing us on this side every time. Let's have something ready for that. And that adaptation is going to serve you well. Keep that up. And we're able to outpaint them because we've got some really good painting weapons. That is one advantage that you have on your comp, that Junior plus Big Swig means that if you're allowed to stay near the zone for long enough, there are not very many team comps that are actually going to be able to outpaint you for it. It's going to take a lot of work for them to actually cap the zone back if you're still there. The challenge is that those weapons are not the strongest at being able to stay on the zone when someone rushes at them. Okay. So we got a little bit split on the zone. We should be able to collapse on this Explo though, but they get the splashdown off in time. And that splashdown is going to splat you. It's going to force Mangalore back so that they can't really effectively take the fight. And so that ends up working out. With splashdown, like if it's giving you trouble on any member of their team, one of the things that you can do to counter it is just to recognize when they have it. So that if, you know, an Explo moving forward really aggressively is not what you generally expect that weapon to do. And so if the Explo is running at you, you have to be like, wait a minute, why do they want to be closer to me? and you squint at them a little bit, like, what are you up to, you cheeky backliner, you? And you think, this backliner has a frontliner's special, and oh look, their icon at the top of the screen happens to be glowing. I should be afraid. And then when you notice that, and you start putting a little bit of pressure on them, you can often bait it out, but bait it out from a range where you can back up and get to safety before that comes down. Now, part of the problem was that it looks like the Dapples got to make their play over the left-hand side again. And so the place that we would be running away to is a place that happened to be flanked by that player. So we were kind of out of the frying pan into the fire here, yeah. Notice how the Dapples has made this same play multiple times now, and we still haven't painted any of that.
Yeah.
We're kind of just not recognizing that play is happening, and the way to counter it is just to paint so that we see it. So, we're grouping back up. This is good. We haven't really staggered too much so far in this match. If you're recognizing that there is the Dapples on the left side with you right now, I would be hollering at my team to get over there onto the left. Because nobody can help that Dapples right now. They're completely on their own. If we get multiple players on them, even just a 2v1, we have a pretty good chance of beating them before any of the rest of their team can rotate to help. And then we just have an advantage going into the next fight. Now we've got to be careful because they have special. And they do splat very quickly, so it's pretty easy for them to trade. But we actually end up just winning that fight straight up. So, well played there. Way to keep them at the range you want them to. Again, that's not a fight that I generally expect based on the specs of the weapons for you to win. You're just kind of outskilling them, which, like, it's good that you can do that. But also, we try to play the game in a way where we can beat people even that are mechanically better than us. We try to use tactics that give us advantages even then. And trusting the 1v1 here, you need to play better than them in order to win that. Even now, having seen them drop left a number of times, you're not putting the paint in their way so that they can't drop off that side. So diving in, we get one. It looks like we can get another. Nice. So their team actually made the mistake there of staggering. They were already a player down, but they actually moved forward during that time. At a time where your team had the advantage, was more likely to win a fight. They didn't want to be there.
Oh, question.
Yes?
Is there any way to intentionally stagger an enemy team?
Well, splatting them is how you stagger them. Basically, if you... We've got a chat bot!
Oh, no.
Woo! Everybody laugh at the bot! Ha 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 ha!
An ad read.
Anyway, so what you do because like staggering an enemy team is something that you always want to accomplish, and the simple way to go about it is kind of what I've been describing, which is when you have an advantage, push. If you get one down, you just get like a random pick, someone goes down to a bomb or something like that, then it's very easy in that moment for the 3v4 to become a 3v3, so you don't want to just like W key and dive in as soon as you ever get a pick ever, especially since the player who got it is likely to be damaged. But especially once you get like 2 down and you still have that kind of advantage, 4v2, just go at them. Because as soon as any one of them pops out and tries to shark you, which is very likely to happen, well, you have a teammate who's there to trade you back. So it's not even that big of a loss. And now that player is staggering the team, because in order for them to have all 4 members back, it's not just the first player that needs to respawn, it's that player you just splatted who needs to respawn. So you're effectively pushing the clock back on when they're able to stop you again. So they reef slider cheese, which is fine because they don't get any picks for it and just immediately go down, and so then we get the... Nice, 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 beautiful. This is exactly when you want to be pushing, and you're doing a great job of working with your rando there, where you get attention, and then the rando shoots that player in the back. One of the things you did really well there is that you didn't take the same angle as your rando, so they had to choose whether to look at one of you or the other. And so then, while they're looking at you, the other is absolutely free to just aim and shoot and not have to worry about, you know, dodging damage or anything like that. And it's so advantageous to be in that position. So, from here, you want to stay here. You want to make it as difficult as possible for them to get rid of you. And maybe they get rid of you, you know? Maybe they just launch into a reef slider, and the only way for you to get away is to drop off this platform. But that's still fine, because they wasted time doing that, and they also wasted a reef slider doing that. That's not going on the zone and cheesing the zone anymore. So, be in the way.
No, I didn't.
You get the trade, and that is totally fine. That buys your team time. And they still have to get rid of this Brella. Brella gets a pick. Let's go, Brella. They've got to be close to special by now. I would be immediately trying to see if I can get an inkjet off from there. No, they don't. But those trades are totally worth it, because the idea with trades is that trades go in favor of the team who likes the status quo. If you like the way things currently are, you want to trade. Right now, you guys are scoring. And this is splat zones. Literally, the only win condition in splat zones is that you have the zone, and then you waste their time. Doesn't matter if you get picks, doesn't matter where you are on the zone, or like on the map. If you've got the zone, and they're not painting the zone, you're winning. So, those fights, like, you ended up actually losing their plat for those fights, but like, we got lead. And our team still has the zone. And it's only now that we're actually at a numbers disadvantage for having taken any of those fights. Looks like the Explo is dropping down onto splash down the zone now. But let's take a look at what's going on the other side. As the roller player, you are the only player on this team who can use their main weapon to attack someone who's on a ledge above you as effectively. So one of the things you want to be thinking to do is to use those flicks to hit up over the top of these ledges where you think opponents are going to be. You don't want to back up so far that you can't take advantage of that. Obviously, it's nice to have the roller up on the plat where like the Dapples and the Explo are right now. You'd love to have the roller there so they can get people under the ledge that's like out of spawn. But if you can't get there in time, just shark under the ledge that you've got near you. We don't want to back up so much that they can just see us on an open sight line. So, I'm going to take a quick look at why we lose the junior here. So this is what we're seeing here. Then we super jump into... Okay. That was a sensible super jump. Now we're looking at this. Now, when I see that my teammate is also going up this wall, I don't want to go up the wall after them, because if my teammate ends up drawing enemy fire, if I go up after them, it's going to hit both of us, or like it's going to hit me instead or something. So like, I don't think this Splatana had any clue you were here. I think every one of these shots is actually aimed at your teammate instead of you. But because you took the same position that they took, they end up hitting you. And your teammate sees the danger, and they're like moving out of the way. They're trying to avoid this. But you showed up and didn't get the information quite as quickly as them, so shots that were aimed at them end up hitting you. So once I see my teammate is going up and having the same idea that I did, I would actually have waited a second and only gone up over the top once I see that the opponent is... Once I see where the opponent is looking, and I think I can exploit that. So, we end up going down, and then Explo does this thing with the splashdown, which they've done about 3 times now. That caps them the zone. So, we're not in necessarily a bad position, but we need to take the zone back soon if we want to hold lead. And it would be nice to hold lead, because there's only a minute left in the game, and we don't want to be in a position where we have to be the ones making the overtime push. but better to let them have lead than to let them KO. That's definitely an important distinction, because they can absolutely KO a lot faster than they can win by like running the timeout. We also see that they've got something that I'd be doing right now, because like what else do you have to do as you swim slowly toward mid, is I'm looking at when we're going to have all of our members back and what specials are available. They have a zip caster and they also have a reef slider. So there are some fights where if I recognize I'm up against the Dapples, there's some fights I would normally take against Dapples where I'm like, wait, but they have this, where I'd be like, okay, maybe I don't want to take this fight now. And I'm also immediately looking for when that zipcaster comes out, because that's a potential thing we could exploit. Like if we spot the zipcaster and we're able to laser that down before it's able to get any value and before the enemy team follows up on it, that could be a way back into the match. We also want to make sure that we know about the reef slider, so that if we try to paint the zone, we know that a slider cheese play could be coming, and to make sure we're out of the blast zone for that.
But, so I've noticed you said Kraken cheese like 3 times now.
Slider cheese.
Slider cheese. I only know of Kraken cheese.
So reef slider has a really big paint explosion that can be used to just cap some zones. Like sometimes you just ride the reef slider onto the zone, and that paint by itself is enough to flip it and create a penalty. So it's a very common tactic on a lot of maps right now, especially ones with small splat zones, to run a reef slider weapon and just have that like super guaranteed invincible, I get to have the zone now, haha, kind of play that's difficult to counterplay until afterward. Okay, nice. That is what I've been looking for you guys to try and do with this Dapples, where they're dropping down into an isolated position. So recognize that, take them out, and now you get to take the rest of this fight in a 4v3. And you're probably also going to have advantage in terms of paint, because with one of their players down, that's one player fewer that's painting the zone. Nice, and we cap the zone, securing the lead. Notice that like they started from 40 plus 20 on that push, but because you just put a penalty back on, all of that progress is erased, and you are ticking down now instead. So the pressure's on them to be able to make a push back in and secure the zone, especially if you end up winning this fight with the roller here, which even if you lose it, your umbrella is likely to be able to clean it up on the backside. So I think this is a pretty good idea. Nice. And now the umbrella is going to be able to inkjet. And we go in with the inkjets. This is great timing. The inkjet is out, and you're making as much use of it as you can. Like, you see that there's aggressive pressure moving forward, and that's going to make the enemy team move in ways that you can capitalize on by just running in and splatting them afterward. So, awesome timing there with your random teammate. And now they're pretty staggered. Like, that Dapples should not have tried to take that fight. Their team was still down a player, but because we splatted them, they have to wait for those Dapples to be back before they have an even fight. And now you've staggered them again, because that Flingza goes down, and so now they have to wait for the Flingza to respawn before they've got people back again. So this is the first time that they've actually got even numbers, but I want to go back and show you like how long you've been scoring in the meantime. So I think it's like this far back. So we get advantage right here. 57 seconds. Look at the scoreboard. You've got 28 with a pretty big penalty. They've got 40 plus 7. But they go down, one down, and they stay in and keep trying to fight even though they're one down. So they go another down. And now you use the momentum and the special push to go in and get some people. And the Dapples try to go in, and so they stagger the team. And then the roller goes in, and they end up staggering the team. And they're still at a disadvantage. It's only right now that they equalize their disadvantage. So from 57 on the clock to 28 on the clock, about 30 full seconds, you guys have been scoring freely, if they do the smart thing and back up once someone goes down, it only takes 10 seconds for that player to respawn and for them to get their numbers back. But because they kept going in and taking fights when they had someone down, when they were at disadvantage, instead of losing 10 seconds, they lost 30 seconds. And now, instead of you guys having a pretty big penalty, you are just scoring points for all of the time that they're not spending taking the zone back. And that gets you guys dangerously close to KOing. And even though it's probably not going to happen, like, none of that needed to happen. All they had to do was be like, oh, our dapples are down. Let's back up and play our range and just stall as long as we can until the dapples are back. And they would have been in a much better position. So that's the feed stagger loop for you. Big overextension on the Flingza, and that could potentially be the end of the game. We just run in, we get one. I'm surprised the Explo stayed where they did. That's not really an advantageous place for them unless they're just trying to play for the splashdown, which they don't have. So, yeah, we just kind of run rampant, and they don't have the resources to contest the zone. They literally didn't even have the paint, let alone be able to win the fight. There is a video of mine that goes through the feed stagger loop in some detail. It's a video I actually made for Splatoon 2, but everything from that video is still absolutely relevant. It's called How to Get Out of S+ Rank. It was designed for talking about solo queue, but that part of it, of course, applies heavily to teams, more so even than it can in solo. In solo, you can't tell your teammates, hey, don't stagger, but in competitive play, you'll see that all the time. So that's something that you could go and take a look at if you want more information, more clarification, some other things that tend to be applicable around that level of ability with the game. But that would be something to check out. Did you have any questions about what we went over? I know that was a lot.
If I had a question that I couldn't say, I definitely forgot it by now, but I'll try to think of one.
All right. And it's not that you have to have any, but I'll really quickly go over the major things to look at for the team. Number one, I would say, is to make sure that there's somebody who's watching every important choke point. When I say choke point, I mean the ways that the enemy team can run at you, where they get filtered into a really narrow spot. So going over the right truck at you, their right truck, your left truck, there's a very narrow gap that they have on the map where they can actually go through. And if somebody's watching that, then you know whether they're coming at you or not, because they had to have gone through that place to get there. So if they didn't, there's no way they're there. So having someone watch that is really important. And if there's not someone who's actively watching it, then it needs to be painted. Like if there's not someone who's being careful to check to see if there's somebody there, have it painted. And then if it gets painted over in their color, you're like, oh crap, there's someone on left. And you don't even need to see them.
Yeah, I remember one of my questions now. Would checking map be good for avoiding things like leaving spots for your enemies to go through?
Yes. Now, there are some times where you're better off looking around than you are checking map, because map won't show you undamaged enemies, for example, unless you see their paint going down. And you'll see those enemies if they're just like moving toward you by having your map screen down. So checking map is something that you want to do, for example, at times where you've just gotten a splat and there's nobody else shooting at you. It's good for times where you're sitting behind cover trying to figure out what to do next. It's good for when you're respawning. And then you should, looking at those times, especially if you're feeding that information to your teammates who don't have their maps open because they can't afford to stop looking forward. That can help you spot little things like that. But another part of it is just you want to develop this kind of internal sense of where is safe anywhere on the map. Like, what direction could danger come from right now? If there are too many of those directions, you don't move forward. But if there's only like one of those directions, you can just focus all of your attention on that direction and push forward as soon as you get the opportunity, knowing that all of your other directions are covered. In that situation where I'm like behind the zone, if I see paint on the left-hand side, I'm like, they could come from left, but they could also come from in front. So I need to cover one of those spots, or I need to back up. And that's kind of the way that I'm making that decision, and the way I'm collecting the information I need to make that decision. Another thing is, as soon as any flank happens ever in a coordinated setting, as soon as like any one of those Dapples plays works, and you're like, oh, that caught me off guard, immediately snap into, okay, we can't let that happen again. How did that happen? How do we stop that from happening a second time? And so if we know, oh, hey, the Dapples flanked us on left, then very next play and for the rest of the game, we want to make sure that Dapples flanking us on left can't work.
Okay. So it's just what's an adaptability?
Partly. The adaptability isn't the main thing. The main thing is defensive painting. I've used that term a couple of times this stream, but if you haven't seen the video where I discuss feed stagger loop, you probably haven't seen that one either. I'm going to look that up real quick and get you a link to that. So here it is in the DMs. And for those in chat who are curious, here's this. Painting defensively is the concept of using paint to limit your opponent's options to attack you, so that when you try to push your advantage, in one direction, you prevent them from being able to capitalize on your aggression by flanking you.
Okay.
So that would be a good one to share around. There's also there's a video that I really recommend for teams and coordination, and since you guys were talking about that being a challenge for you guys, I'll send you this one more video as well. This is a two-parter. The first part talks about how to use callouts and what you're trying to accomplish with them, and then the second half uses an example from top-level gameplay so that you can see how top-level players are putting those principles into practice, and you can kind of emulate them.
Speaking of top-level gameplay, where do I find top-level gameplay? I couldn't find any when I looked.
So there are... one second, let me get this really quickly because I'm trying to talk and type at the same time and neither of them are working. Okay, here it is, found it. So here's that video, and I'll also share that in chat. So the competitive scene generally exists on Twitter and on Discord in terms of like text communication, and then on Twitch in terms of tournament streams. So you can sometimes just get lucky and find like a tournament stream on Twitch. And what you're doing in a tournament stream is, like, obviously there's a lot you can learn from watching the teams and how they play around each other, but it's not going to be the camera angle that's best for learning. It's going to be the camera angle that's best for entertaining. If you want to learn from stuff, you generally want to be watching one person's perspective or watching an overhead, neither of which you're going to get for a very long time on a tournament stream. But what a tournament stream helps you do is learn the names of the players. And as soon as you see someone playing a weapon that's similar to what you play, you can go and see if they have a Twitch channel, you can go and follow them on Twitter, You can try and pick up what you can from there. Not everyone is going to be a content creator, but there are a number of top players that are content creators. Basically, every member of Jackpot is trying to make some kind of content right now. So that's .q, who is primarily a Charger player, but flexes to like literally anything and becomes a god at it anyway. You've got Leafy and Stamper, you've got Jared on dualies and some other stuff, support weapons and things like that. And you've got Madness on V-Bucket. So like anyone plays any of those, follow one of those guys, and you've got something to watch, you know? But any top-level gameplay, it's likely to either be at a tournament or it's likely to be something that's relatively private, because a top-level team that broadcasts their scrims is giving away their footage publicly to anyone who might try to use that to beat them. So it's limited the extent you're going to see those scrims, unless they have an interest in also like teaching people or just driving up their viewer numbers or something. A lot of the time you'll see like pickup scrims and people will show those off because like they're not worried about someone stealing strats for a team that will literally never play together again. But if you want to see the very best teams playing the very best they can, you're usually only going to see that at big tournaments or on their individual streams if they're just like practicing.
Okay. Also, sometimes since our backliner, our anchor, kind of is gonna stop playing the game a bit, I've started flexing onto ballpoint.
Okay.
Do you have any tips for ballpoint?
Well, I'm not a ballpoint player myself. I do have... So, first of all, I can recommend the backline positioning guide that I talked about in the previous VOD review. So, I don't know if you were there to see that or if you've seen those before.
I don't think I've seen that before.
Gotcha. So, Devi makes these maps. And I think we've already posted those in chat, but I'll post them again real quick. Was it this? Is this the command we made? I don't think that was the command we made. Well, was it backliner? There it is. Okay. Or backline instead. Gotcha. So this is a Google Drive where Devi has made maps, taken like overheads of all the maps and written in positions where, after, you know, playing the game herself and also consulting other backline players of different weapons, she's figured out these are the spots where people will generally get a lot of value. So this is a great way to decide where you want to play. And what's also really good about using this map is figuring out why these spots are good and how to move from one of these spots to another. How to, you know, work on the in-between parts. So, like, why are spots good? Well, it might be that they give you high ground. It might be that they are an important strategic position that lets you block multiple choke points. It might just be a spot where it's more safe, because if you were anywhere else, someone else could try to splat you. And you try to think about why you want to be there so that you make that decision more and more automatically. And if you need to rotate off that position, you look for another position that's a little bit less conventional maybe, where they won't be expecting you, so that you can hit them from an angle that they're not expecting. So that's something that I've always found very helpful in figuring out a backline weapon, considering that that's not my specialty at all. I'm a frontline player. As for ballpoint itself, there's a specific way of using the short range mode to paint that is very fast and efficient that you want to learn so you can get special really quickly. And then you also want to learn about the big advantage mechanically that the ballpoint has is that, unlike other weapons where you're going to charge up and then you're going to release the charge, and those are the only two things you can do. You're just going to exhaust your full charge every time you fire the weapon. With the ballpoint, you can kind of keep a steady stream of shots going until you run out of ink. and never actually have that downtime. And so on a map like Manta Maria, for example, you kind of just walk across the grates, and you just kind of like keep doing this. And yeah, there's like a little like brief moment where you have to like recharge. But like I'm just shooting at heavy splatling range this whole time, dealing potentially lethal damage repeatedly. And it's only now that I'm running out of ink and I'm forced to stop and like get more. So the advantage of ballpoint over the others is that you can have sustained fire for much, much longer than any of the rest of them. And that lets you be a little more aggressive in your positioning. It lets you be a little bit more mobile, because this whole time you never have to back up because you ran out of charge. You're not running out of charge at all. You're just continuing to do this over and over and over again. Also, get very good with Inkjet. Inkjet is a very good special. It's a valuable tool for getting your team in. And so you really want to practice this and be able to hit those one-shots in the lobby. And I've got a whole video on Inkjet advice for the ballpoint learner, if you want to check that out and learn more about that particular aspect of the kit. Right now, ballpoint is suffering a lot in the metagame because Snipe Rider counters it pretty hard. Both the Inkjet and the main weapon itself. It has the Snipe Rider has the range to deal with it in a way that's difficult for the ballpoint to do anything about. So until Snipe Rider becomes much less a part of the metagame, we're not seeing as much ballpoint, but you could say the same about Hydra. Like, Hydra is seeing even less use than ballpoint is. Ballpoint would probably be fine if you just deleted Snipe Rider from the game. I'm not sure Hydra, you could say the same thing in the majority of cases, so those are my thoughts on that as far as I can give them. Devi is the splatling master, though. Like, I would listen to what she has to say more than I have about myself, even though she does play Hydra, which is off meta.
Another thing, so if ballpoint has the same range as Hydra, it feels
does
like
not.
I have... Doesn't?
It used to, and they nerfed it.
Ow. Well, generally still, how do you fight an opponent with the same range as you? Because I find myself falling into like a trap where I try to fight an opponent and they have the same range as me, and I walk in like I have less range than them.
And that'll just be a habit you develop because you're playing a short-range weapon very aggressively. That's like your junior stuff coming into play. But playing your range is all about knowing the matchup that you're currently in. You always want, with basically any weapon in the game, unless it's like a sploosh or an E-liter, your flowchart is, when you start fighting someone, you think, do I have longer range than them or shorter range than them? And as soon as you've answered that question, you know, move forward or move back. If it's the same range as you, now the advantage has to come from the circumstances if you're going to try to take the fight. Otherwise, you're just flipping a coin. You don't want coin flip fights. You always want fights where you have something that makes you think you can win them. Otherwise, you might as well wait for when you do have an advantage, like a special or something. So maybe they're not looking at you. And if they're not looking at you, then you have free range to go and take your shots at them. Maybe you have high ground over them, and high ground will give you a slight range advantage. So maybe that's something you can use. Maybe you have cover that you can use. So for example, if I'm like right here, and I'm getting my charge ready, and I peek out from around this corner, I can peek back behind the corner, and I have right side peek advantage, if you know what that is. Do you know what right side peek advantage is?
Your weapon's on your right hand, so
Exactly.
if you...
So I am less exposed to the enemy player, because half of me is behind this cover, but I can still shoot around. Whereas in here, I have to fully expose myself around the cover, and so there's an advantage being on the right side. So that's a source of an advantage. Obviously, if you get your aim on first, if you have paint and they don't, if you can cut off their escape route, there are a lot of different kinds of advantages you can win in fights besides just range advantage. But again, you don't want to take any of those fights until you know you have one and you know how to play to it. Otherwise, just wait for a better chance.
forgot the other question I had.
All right. If you think about it, you know, feel free to just like DM me on Discord. I'm always happy to go back.
Okay. Oh, yeah, right. No, never mind. You already answered that one.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Did you have another question?
No. I was gonna ask if I just leave now.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're all set with the VOD review as long as you don't have any more questions. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for, you know, bringing your teammates and everything. And hopefully that was helpful to you, and you guys can, you know, start working your way into competitive play. It sounds like you guys are interested in that, and you're just kind of looking for the right way in. Do you know about, like, the Discord servers to join and stuff? Like, should I send you Inkopolis Crosswalk?
I have no idea what that one is.
Cool. So Inkopolis Crosswalk is a Discord server that contains invite links to all of the Discord servers. There's a bunch of them that the competitive Splatoon community uses for various resources, various tournaments. There's one for finding free agents. There's one for the Ludi series of tournaments, which is a major kind of source of seeding data in the community, as well as, you know, finding out about teams and stuff. Great source of practice. So Splatoon Stronghold, Academy, which are big hubs of knowledge and just general information about the game and places where tournaments are announced. So lots of very useful stuff there that I would definitely, you know, go through and think, oh, this looks useful, and then just join all of those servers. Do I have the Discord server here? I don't think I do. One sec. Let me grab the invite link. There's an invite link to that server in case anyone in stream chat is interested. This is one that expires in 7 days, so just be aware that if you're watching this like much later, that one won't work anymore, but you should be able to find one in my server. And we've got raiders coming in. Thank you to Talwin for bringing all of the people over. Welcome, everybody. Good to have you.
Great jump scare.
Thanks for stopping by. We were just finishing up a VOD review, our last VOD review for the day. Didn't get to play the Anarchy Open at the beginning of the day, unfortunately, but we at least got through the VOD reviews before we ran out of time. But thanks for stopping by, everyone. And I was just saying goodbye to Ty Phoenix, who gave us a VOD of their team all playing together in an open lobby. Thank you for being willing to, again, put your gameplay up for the rest of us to scrutinize. It's definitely an experience where you receive a lot of criticism, and it takes a certain amount of courage and humility to go through that, and I always appreciate that in folks. So thank you so much.
If getting non-offensively dogpiled helps me get better at the game, I feel like it's worth it.
That's the spirit. So thank you so much for that, and for everybody for being around. I just got a raid. I'll play a couple rounds. But I'll probably just do some solo queue here and talk a little bit with everybody. So I'll be dropping out of the VC now, so nice talking with you.
Nice talking with you too.
And now my little icon no longer shows up on screen. That's how you know I'm gone. Whoa. Wanted to raid you before you ended Jennifer Lawrence. We came up with that very recently. It's definitely one that I had not heard before at the time. On the upside, I didn't have to play Rainmaker Grand Shift. What do we got here? We got Zones, Mahi, and Crab Leg. Those aren't terrible. I should probably play a warm-up just to get my aim back on, because I haven't played in a couple hours, and I cannot afford to win, or to lose a single match, or I dropped back below 2K. I do not want that. So let's just make sure that the aim and the decision making is there. before we try to go into that. Times at LTC, yes. I met Tal at LTC. They were a part of a group that was hell-bent on getting me drunk. They were about as close to succeeding as I would have ever allowed. But they're experts on that. Like, I'd finish one drink and there would just be another one full in front of me before I even realized it. It was wild. It was uncanny how good they were at that. Thanks, Tal! You have a good one. Alright. So, we're gonna go for pop. We've got a sploosh. We should always go for pop in that situation, because that is the single highest DPS weapon in the entire game. So, of course, it's gonna be able to shred it. I'm sorry, teammate, but I at least avenged you. But we've got someone coming over the left side that we're not watching, and I'm just gonna need to back up here. They're going to be able to take it left, and there's not much we can do about that from here. I'm going to throw that, and if they don't watch, I might be able to look over this direction. They probably know I'm here now. I'm surprised that they didn't move. I feel like they could have by now. That'll probably scare the Rainmaker carrier a little bit. Okay, we sneaked that around. Cool. Okay, I was a little bit lucky that one of them didn't see me at all. Nice! And the team cleans up. And now we just get to go this way. I'm very close to special, so let's get that ready for the next fight. Great job on the splashdown to keep them back. I just need a few more points, and then I can do this. Well, I mistimed that a little bit. I was hoping that it would hit the splashdown player as they came down, because I realized I was in too deep and I was going to go down to it. Took me too long to get my special, is the problem. Running out of ink should have made me pause and figure out if I still had time. Okay, you stop that. I do not like that you are here. Please cease. Okay, that other player's down now too. I think I would these. Yeah, I would these. And they're not picking up, so they know. What I did there was I showed myself briefly shooting from one angle, and then switched angles, so that they would turn and look in the wrong direction when they landed. Ideally, they probably just don't know that I'm there, and I just try to play that for stealth, rather than to mislead them. Because they can definitely track me once they know to even be looking for me. But I was pretty sure that they saw me at that point. Unfortunate. We didn't need that much more time. I'm just going to keep painting for the Rainmaker for a second. I'll make sure that they don't come up over here. Make sure we don't get flanked. I didn't know we were going for it, so I was looking up there. It's unfortunate. That was something that we probably needed to check, because people were spawning. I needed to make sure they weren't coming that way. But Rainmaker just happened to go during that time, and I wasn't there to look at it. We're not going to pick that up, but we are going to stall them a bit. That player keeps moving forward. Okay, I go down to this. I was way too greedy going after them there. Too many people looking at me. But we don't have to do much. We've got to push to 20. That is fairly good. Leads can swing on a dime on this map, but so far we've been playing defense really well. Just painting up this left-hand side so they can't use this to get across easily, even if they do beat us, and also because getting a Zuka from here is kind of nice, as evidenced by that. Nice. Okay, we should be able to just shove forward from there. Part of what I'm trying to do there isn't even necessarily to splat them, it's just to get them to show themselves so my teammates know where they are. Like, even if I go down, if the Rainmaker is able to put a shot down on the player who gets me, then that's a player who's not going after the Rainmaker. Okay, I don't know where those whales were aiming, but we should really be getting rid of that player sooner, but that's fine. Huh. Drop it. make sure they can't purchase from left, because I'm seeing a lot of paint from there. I should have won this already. There we go. Drinking in a land does not sound like fun on day 2. If you drink little enough, it's fine. Like, it's not like I had a hangover or anything. Not like I was feeling bad in the morning. Like I said, it was the most that I was willing to allow. Which isn't to say that it was very much. You probably could have just run up and grabbed that, ultimately, but... Oh, okay. There's nothing I can do to stop the Rainmaker from there, because it's going to come around this corner, and then I'm not going to be able to hit it at all. So, we play defense from here. And they still have to go pretty far, so this isn't the end of the world. We can just kind of sit and throw bombs and wait. And there we go. Got value out of it. If they had gotten to the rail, I would have dropped down and gone after them with the main weapon, but they never got that far, and I never put myself in enough danger that they could splat me, and be able to move through there for free. Having healthy understanding his limits. I think it helps to only kind of drink one kind of alcohol sometimes. Like, I generally just drink beer. Or equate things to number of beers so that I'm doing math in my head constantly to figure out, okay, how much have I had so far? Because I know how many beers it takes to get me to a point where I'm like, I don't want to be out in public like this anymore. And so I know to just stay around that. Nice. Gold bullion. Love to see it. Oh, and map mode's changed, so it's not even that rotation anymore. Rainmaker, Brine Water, Hammerhead. What do I want for this? This weapon is still fine. It's probably still what I'd run. Me and the boys are cat sitting for a friend, but the cat doesn't want to hang out, so we're watching you. Yeah. Cats are very particular about the humans they spend their time with. Always takes the cat owner a good couple weeks of orientation before the cat's even really going to let them pet them sometimes. I've heard that with, like, cats that were feral, that they'll literally just, like, sit in the corner and hiss at someone for 2 weeks before they do anything. Mine was a stray, but he clearly had had some human attention at some point in time, because he was a lot better trained around people and, like, was very adaptable to moving him around and stuff. Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it. I'm a good squid now. Kids don't do dumb things. Yeah, like... Obviously, I'm not just going to advocate for, like, drinking alcohol when you're too young. I'm not going to advocate for binge drinking it ever. But there is a healthy way to consume alcohol. There's a healthy amount of very, like... It's kind of like sweets, in a way, where there's not really any health benefit to it, but also, if you consume it responsibly, you're not gonna, like, destroy your life on it. Like, there are ways to have a healthy relationship with it, and it can be a lot of fun, because it reduces your inhibitions and makes you more capable of having good social interactions where you're not getting in your own head about things. Or you could drink too much of it and then be way stupider, but think that you're having good social interactions. That's also a possibility, so you gotta be careful. But with a certain level of maturity... Oh my god, how did we do that? Good stuff. That's a booyah from me. With a certain level of maturity, it can be a lot of fun, and I don't want to like discourage someone by like making it out to be some moral evil. It's not like a bad thing to do in every scenario. They have survived a lot, but so teammates fighting over there. I'm going to try and dive in and at least give them a way out if they need it. They do not need it. Good job, teammates. I had shots on them and everything, but YouTuber just had charge ready to go. I feel like that's more of a I want to super jump back beacon than a I'm going to super jump out. That was a situation. Someone was asking about when to fight someone as a frontliner, or like when you have equal range of them or something. That was a great situation there to show the situation where your opponent is looking at a teammate instead of at you. I took advantage of that to take out the roller player there. I think we catch this player here? No, we don't. We swing around over here. We know that they're here somewhere. I must have dropped. I would have hit him by now. Roller is in position, which is annoying. Can't do much about that except to try this. Oh, and that didn't even get splat. Oh god, I'm down. Okay, well, it's a game now. We need to avoid staggering any further. We can definitely stop this in time. Hopefully. Maybe not. Oh, they just barely cheesed the lead out. How? Okay, I've been getting shot blocked. That's what's happening. I'm like, I know my aim is on there. That's two of them down. We can kind of just drop this. Oh, man. There's a roller around. I don't like it. Probably saw this. No more Zuka. Unfortunately, there's someone through on right, and we need to stop them. Oh, I hit him twice. Okay, we got him. That was a little bit too scary. And meantime, I can't got. Oh my god, I missed everything. But we win it. No, we trade. Darn. Ah ha ha ha, please no. Okay, okay, we're good. Cool. Teammate followed up on that like a champ. Okay, cool. Down. Where are we? Someone up there. I'm gonna cut that off. Got one. Oh, okay, well. It's in your hands now. Good luck, team. We're doing well. I might actually be able to get out in front of it. Oh, let's go. That's two down. Oh, yes. Okay, okay. Oh my god. Just barely. Wanted pets for a bit, but not very long fairy cat behavior. Yeah, for sure. Whew. What has been the best LAN you've been to? I think objectively it was LTC 2024. That one was the first Splatoon tournament I've ever been to that I felt outshined the Melee tournament it was at. That was wild. And obviously that's partly because Melee was declining at the event, but also Splatoon was bigger than it has ever been there. It was more of a part of the venue. It was more hype. There were just more people that were there. The LTC really went out with a bang. Before then, it was Riptide 2023. That event was also insanely cool. I will never forget the time that I spent at the poolside bar there, even though it was only for like 15 minutes. It was still sick. It was like, man, I love that they cleared out the pool except for all the people at the tournament. Because now, I can just go up to literally anyone who's there and ask them what they main. It's the easiest conversation starter. So, that was a lot of fun. And it was also my best tournament run ever. That was the one where I was there competing with Orca Balestra, and man, those guys are cracked. We made top 16. I was super happy with that. We were actually really close to taking a game off the Cherry Limeade pickup, except that we had lead with 1 minute to go, but then one of our players bumped the table and disconnected. So, lesson learned there, right? But even so, it was great. Hi there, E-Leader. Please go away. I said, please go away. Thank you. Oh my god, that was such an insanely good defense shield. Like, a lot of that was probably just, like, the luck of when they placed it, but part of that is also just they knew the right time to be putting that out. Oh, hi. Why are you doing this? Go away. If I got away from that, far enough away that it wasn't a one-shot, I just Zuka them in the face. And we keep that push going. But 15's still really good. Getting a lot of random picks on people here, so team's playing well together. I'm pausing a second there because the tent shield was about to come out, and I would rather be going at the same time that the tent shield's coming out. Even though I'm not going in the same direction, it's a distraction. I could probably jump into this. Yeah, they haven't popped shield yet. Wait, this is not a way out. We flee! Oh, hi. One of the things you'll notice is that when I get into little engagements like that and I get a little stepped up, I am making sure to go down into my ink and heal before I try to do anything else. Yeah, I saw my teammate not taking it. I was like, they know something I don't, and they absolutely did. Oh, they didn't have a flick ready as they came down. That's a whoops. They trade me if that happens, but they're not ready. All the way around. I'm going to splat you for it. Unfortunately, the leader was watching too. We're a little bit staggered right now. Oh, we're playing with Fuzzy. Okay, that's why we're winning. I did not recognize that at all. Fuzzy is a top player. Well, I'm dead. Oh, stop it. Where was everybody? What was happening there? I don't understand where everyone's going down from. Oh, no. Oh. I need to go back and look at that. I lost track of something in the middle of the game. There were gamer bars I would actually consider going to one. There are! Oh, that's totally a thing. We have one in my city. There was one in where I went to school. Like, look around. That's definitely a thing that exists. They call them barcades. B-A-R-C-A-D-E. Man, I played that game really well, for the most part. I think it was just, like, a lapse in awareness at the end. I don't know what happened there. GG, Skull! Ugh. That's rough. I'm thinking, when I realized that I was playing with Fuzzy, that I just stopped looking at the heads-up display and, like, didn't realize when we were down a player. So we're down a player here, and I'm just kind of locked in this. And so I know that we're at a disadvantage, and I'm backing up to try and kill some time on their part. So Fuzzy's going in on the bottom side. Fuzzy goes down. I probably shouldn't have dropped down to go for that. That was definitely greedy. But, okay, so there wasn't a teammate behind me, there was a teammate next to me. But because the teammate was next to me, they weren't actually stopping the Rainmaker because they had short range. And then it's a 2v4, it's a 1v3. Fuzzy does not win these. Unfortunate. That was partly a comp thing, honestly. It was partly just... I have a tendency to expect weapons that can follow up with me, and those are not weapons that can just, like, run into a fight that I'm trying to take. So, oh well. Oh, there was a top player on our team. Which is why I was like, oh, that's why that first push went so well. Our tent is cracked. There might have been on the other team as well, and I just wasn't looking at names carefully enough. Recommended places to play Splatoon in Washington. I know that there is a Pacific Northwest organization that does Splatoon lands. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it does exist, and I think... in my video about post-land depression, there is a hearted comment from, I think it's Little Pet Frog who made that, who has a list of various locals to support in different regions. How did I not hit a single shot on that player? What? That was some lag. Nice! Great job, teammate. Okay, that's 2 down. We probably don't get to checkpoint without a fight. Now we get to checkpoint without a fight. Let's just paint this out so that they can't come out here surprisingly. And also get a Zuka that we can use. Please stop. Stop that. Thank you. Okay, now we need to pick it up and go. I'm trying to take an... oh, shoot. I missed the bomb. I'm trying to take an angle that the Rainmaker isn't at, because the Rainmaker is going to get shot at. And I would like to shoot at the people who are shooting at the Rainmaker, not get shot at by the people who are trying to hit the Rainmaker and missing and hitting me. Yeah. Well, I needed to get them before the Brella went up. Yeah, Splatoon's not the most common game, but you would be surprised that there are people in your area who play who you just don't know. Oh, wow, I thought that was going to hit the floor. Whoops. Ooh, we're 2 down. We do not want to stay in too much. Cool. That's actually a huge time save that they had to go and get it from mid again. They get this checkpoint for free, but then as soon as they come up the ramp, we stop them. Like so. Or, well... Okay, this was not a fantastic demonstration of how that was supposed to work. Stop. Pretty sure I still hit that, even if my teammate doesn't get it first. Crap. That was really unfortunate that we all ended up there. I kind of wish we'd painted a little bit more, but seeing our comp, I'm not surprised that it didn't happen. I need to just play a little bit more paint-heavy to support the rest of the team. I'm focusing on offense, but really my job here is to paint. Okay, well, I guess I'm the only one who's picking up. So we're going to play very anchor-like here and safe. They have a cooler out. They will be back. What? Hit me. Absolutely jump into this because we want to stop this player from getting up on it. Save your life. You're welcome. Okay, delayed wipe. I didn't want to pick that up, but it's too indecisive. So we need people up ahead to clear the way. I'm going to wait until we have that before I try to do something to limit. Unfortunately, we lost the front line here. And cooler advantage is really biting us in the butt there. I got like 4 or something, but they just spawned back in. Stealth swim ahead. Oh wait, we need to go for this. We do not have pop. We're not gonna get pop. I failed to keep track of the time, and they were able to just play to win condition there. Man, it's probably possible that I could actually have stopped them from getting lead if I just got into the Rainmaker slightly faster. It was a fraction of a second, and I thought I had more space. But the comp was also annoying. It gave us a couple of weapons that didn't paint very well. (2v2), everyone DC'd, crazy. This is going to have to be the last game. But we'll try and finish on a good one. Yeah, you can look at the Tri Nouveau and their score there. A lot of that is coming from Cooler in all likelihood. And that just kind of puts into numbers the impact that Cooler can have. Yeah, Cloudcraft. We need to study people like that. There's something off about their ethics that we need to understand. Oh boy. We're gonna jump out of this. It's not about that life. Get a good shot there. Side. I'm me see if I can drop out here. They see this and they're looking at it, but that means that we might be able to get stuff done on the other side. Especially if I win that. Let's go. Beautiful. That is exactly what we wanted to happen. Let's lead. Trying to get them to commit to something. There's a crab. We need to back off of this so we don't die. Crab has a lot of chip damage, but once we wait the crab out, we have a lot more resources. Beautiful. We actually just picked this up with no. Well, there's a crab. I'm surprised the crab didn't go after me. That was definitely the target it should have gone after. I guess maybe it was scared of the other one. Oh boy. I am lucky. I'm lucky. Okay, no, I'm not. Game says no. Incorrect. But hear me out, what if the Rainmaker did go down? I go down to that, but they back up from the bomb, right? Almost. Go, 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 go. I thought I grabbed for a second, and I was like, oh no, I didn't, and I tried to fight, but I was already on the same line. It's whatever. 13 points is a really good push. It's going to take something catastrophic for us to lose. But I always plan for catastrophes. Just make sure that we have a way out over here. They don't want us to have that. This covered, and they know that we got this covered, so they're probably going to be looking at it, so I'm going to chill for a second. That's Zuka bait. Nice, nice, nice. Do not get to go here. That's my friend. That's what I was going to do. Stole my idea. We don't want to be here. Okay, good. Teammate got that pick, but I had no way of knowing that that was going to happen. Oh my god. They are just different. Whew. We're alive. Teammate's not, but that's okay. The Rainmaker is painted our color, and they're not going to get it. Okay. Yeah, well played. Well played, Bonnie. Might have one more, because I think this will be the deciding one. It will be. Let's use the momentum. Let's get across the finish line, one way or another. this time is last one for sure. This is not a... I'm not gonna one more game myself. I have a commitment. Even if I lose and I'm mad and I want to get the points back. Played with Mr. Slimeball before. I've generally been fairly impressed. Eh. Well, they're usually playing Range Blaster, if I remember correctly. Nice. Just get rid of this so they can't jump in. They can swim out. Oh, if that directed. Oh, we would have so much more room to run, but now they're alone. That's such an unfortunate wipe. Zuko over there. Just gonna play it safe. Close to Zuko herself. So we'll be back for long enough. When they'd already shown themselves, teammates can move in. Make sure he's gonna get there. Weak, but I can't finish it. Oh! What did I get them with? Was that just a random fall-off shot from the very end of my volley? I don't know what happened there. They read me coming back. I would have thought I thought they were gonna move. Oh shoot, there's something else. Oh cool, it's just a zip, so they retract. I cannot see this player, and I don't want to stay. Close to Zuka. How we get there before we have to fight the enemy team. Zuka out. We just play super duper safe. We want to protect that. Why did they go after me? Maybe I just smelled nice. They were jealous. One on right side. Nice. Oh, crap. Ah, Hydro charge. They have a Zuka out now. We have to play really safe. With them through the checkpoint, they could definitely take lead if we wipe here, so we gotta be super careful. Not even necessarily gonna take a wipe. I need to find another angle to get in. Just looking for safe right now. Oh god. Oh god. Okay, we get away. That was a little of an overextension. Yeah, you can't do that. We get Zuki here. Like that. Oh, crap. I did not see that coming. Normally I catch that with audio cues, but I was talking over it. This is dangerous. We might lose lead. Backing it up. This is dangerous. There's a buoy out. Okay, good. They jumped it off. Deal with that they're fast. They're out. Go. Get a little aggro here. That's 2. We need to go. Oh no, they ran into the bomb! No! Oh. The way was completely clear. They just needed to not die to that single bomb. Oh no. Oh. I can't be too mad about that. Oh well. At least we're still above 2K. That's all I really care about. Anyway, GG's to all I played with, and thank you for watching to all who I didn't. I'm gonna go off and raid. I believe there is a Grillers scrim that's going on right now. I think it's this? No. There it is. So, we are going to go and raid Yeet, who is a teammate of Devi's. We talked about Devi's backline positioning guide earlier, and this is her team playing a scrim. So, if you want to check out what that looks like, I know we've got a lot of people who are newer to competitive play. And they're playing... What in the world are they playing? They're playing Undercover Brawler right now. So that's interesting. But thank you, everybody, for watching. I do content on YouTube to help educate the squids on how to become better squids and better kids. I also do private lessons via Metafy, or like you've seen today on these streams. So if you just want to DM me on Discord, we can get one of those set up. I also have a Twitter account and a bunch of other stuff that you can find to click on from there. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And let's go say hi to Yeet. Which will happen in 10 seconds, because I always forget there's a countdown. But it'll happen. It'll happen. Oh, they're just doing open right now? Okay, that explains why they're playing the comp they're playing. But, alright, I'll click raid after the screen effect is done. Alright, here we go.